Chapter 297. Popular Ice Skin Jade Skin. Sun Dalian's unknown past _7. His gaze was unconsciously drawn to Anai Yang. This feeling was very strange. He didn't know what kind of person Anai Yang was. She seemed a bit different from what he had imagined. Mo Baichuan squinted. Only when he could no longer see Anai Yang's figure did he finally leave. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. At this moment, Li Xianxian emerged from behind Mo Baichuan. Her face filled with a gloomy expression, her eyes filled with malice, as if she were poisoned. Mo Baichuan's attention was ultimately drawn away by Anai Yang. No. She absolutely couldn't let anyone steal her stuff. Mo Baichuan could only belong to her. It seems she could no longer simply sit idly by. Li Xianxian clenched her fists. If you looked closely, you could see her entire body was trembling. Anai Yang went straight to the detective agency. "Miss Anai, you're here." Xiaozhou greeted Anai Yang with a smile. "Please have a seat." Anai Yang leaned over to sit down on the bench. "Mr. Xiaozhou, the matter I asked you to check last time, is there any progress?" "It's been clarified," Xiaozhou continued. "Sun Dalian gave birth to a child when she was 16 with a local scoundrel. The following year, before the child had even turned 1, she ran off with her mother, and there was no news of her thereafter. According to the villagers, Sun Dalian seems to have died in a car accident." After the investigation, this was the only shocking thing about Sun Dalian's past, so Xiaozhou of course brought up the most important part. "Is the information reliable?" Anai Yang's eyes lit up. So this was why Li Xianxian had changed her name, and was so afraid of her past being known. It was because of this. An unwed mother. Yet she still wanted to marry into the Mo family. TSK. Her ambition was truly not small. "Of course it's reliable." Xiaozhou handed Anai Yang the file bag in his hands. "Here are the details of the male's family residence and some other information." Anai Yang opened the bag and read through the documents at a glance. After reading, Anai Yang lifted her gaze to ask, "Is that child still alive?" "He's still alive," Xiaozhou replied. "The child is now 5 years old and is being raised by the father, but their life is very tough, barely surviving by deceit." Anai Yang nodded. "All right, I understand. Thank you, Mr. Xiaozhou." "You're welcome," Xiaozhou smiled. "It's all part of our job." After leaving the detective agency, Anai Yang went to the vegetable market to buy groceries. Having such significant news, she of course needed to celebrate properly. When Anai Yang returned after shopping, she immediately sensed that something was amiss. Someone was following her. Moreover, there was more than one. Anai Yang slightly raised her eyebrow, maintained her pace, and turned into a dead-end alley ahead. Just then, a dark figure rushed towards Anai Yang's back, while another person tried to bag her head with a sack. Anai Yang's ear twitched, and in a flash, she lifted her right leg. A perfect backspin kick followed. With a thud, the man with the sack was kicked to the ground. The other man seeing this was scared and immediately turned to flee. My God, that's so terrifying. Was this really the action of an 18-year-old girl? The fleeing man wet himself in fear as he ran, filling the air with a disgusting urine odor. Anai Yang frowned slightly, deciding not to chase after him and kicked the man on the ground. "What's your name? Who sent you? Please spare my life, sister. I'll tell you everything." Chapter 298. A very important person. _1 The man was scared out of his wits. He never imagined that a young girl could knock him down with a single kick. "My name is Sun Shiwu, an old woman sent me. She's veiled, so I don't know her identity, but we agreed to meet in a small alley on the northwest side after I finish my task this late afternoon." Scared out of his wits, Sun Shiwu confessed all his past involvements. Sun Shiwu? Anai Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. A hint of cunning flashed in her eyes. It was a good thing she had previously done a background check on Li Xianxian. Otherwise, she would have missed this critical figure. Anai Yang's face changed instantly. She quickly squatted down to help Sun Shiwu up. "Turns out you're Uncle Shiwu. What a case of not recognizing one's own kin. I am Yang. Don't you remember me?" Sun Shiwu looked at Anai Yang in confusion and fear, worried that if she were displeased she might kick him again. He did not remember Anai Yang. He was very sure that he had never seen Yang before, because Yang was too beautiful, and if he had met this attractive girl, he would definitely remember. However, he had absolutely no impression of Yang. Seeing Sun Shiwa's reaction, Yang continued, Uncle Sherwu, I used to play with Dalian all the time. Do you remember me? I was the Yang who always had a runny nose. Which village doesn't have a few little girls who love having runny noses? To convince Sun Sherwu, Yang was willing to damage her own image. After hearing this, Sun Sherwu seemed to recall something. There were a few little girls in the village who loved to follow Sun Dalian around. 2 of them always had runny noses. Could Yang be one of those 2? Women sure do change a lot when they grow up. He never expected that snot-nosed girl to become so pretty. Sun Sherwu was secretly astonished. Yang continued, Uncle Sherwu, do you remember now? Sun Sherwu nodded his head. I seem to have some impression. Yang laughed. Uncle Sherwu, it's good that you remembered. When did you come to Beijing? How are Aunt Ashu and Dalian now? Upon mention of Li Shu and Sun Dalian, a strong resentment appeared on Sun Shiwa's face. His face distorted instantly, as if he wished he could kill the mother and daughter right away. Those shameless bitches are already dead. Nobody should mention those bitches in front of me ever again. As soon as he finished speaking, Sun Sherwu realized his mistake and immediately apologized to Yang. I'm sorry, Yang. I wasn't yelling at you. I was yelling at those 2 bitches. Yang's kick just now had left a deep impression in Sun Shiwa's heart. Even though Yang was always smiling and kindly calling him Uncle Sherwu, Sun Sherwu was still very scared. The fear was uncontrollable. It's fine, it's fine. Yang continued. Uncle Sherwu, what exactly is going on? Aunt Ashu and Dalian are really that flirtatious bitch. Sun Sherwu spat on the ground. She ran off with that little harpy. No man could endure the betrayal of his own woman. In the countryside, having your wife and child run away was humiliating, and therefore, Sun Sherwu was forced to make his way to Beijing by begging. It's obvious how much Sun Sherwu hated the mother and daughter pair, Li Shu and Li Xianxian. Yang hid a smile and began comforting him. Uncle Sherwu, don't be angry. Perhaps there has been some misunderstanding? Aunt Ashu and Dalian are such good people. They couldn't possibly do such a thing. Yang's words were like pouring oil on a fire, completely igniting Sun Shiwa's anger. How could it be a misunderstanding when 2 people are gone? Those shameless bitches. They've completely lost face for our Sun family. When I find them, I will skin them alive. Yang continued. Uncle Sherwu, you must be hungry, right? How about we find a place to eat and chat? Eat. Sun Sherwu hadn't had a proper meal for many days, otherwise he wouldn't have resorted to such desperate measures. But hearing that Yang wanted to treat him to a meal, Sun Sherwu was still wary. He had treated Yang so badly. Would she still be kind enough to invite him for a meal? Could it be a trap? Even though Sun Sherwu wasn't sharp, he also wasn't a fool. Chapter 299, a very important person. Yang seemed to discern Sun Shiwa's wariness, and continued. Uncle 15, it's kismet that we fellow townsfolk bumped into each other in such a large city like Beijing. You're my elder, so it's only right that I treat you to a meal. I know of a restaurant with amazing braised pork ahead. The chicken soup there is also good, and so is the lamb noodle stew. Sun Shiwa's eyes were practically gleaming, and he kept swallowing hard. Meat. He hadn't had meat for nearly half a year now. No matter what. As long as he could devour some meat, even dying wouldn't matter. Even in death, had be a spirit satiated by meat. Sun Sherwu squared his courage and continued walking with Yang. Yang took Sun Sherwu to a small restaurant, and together they ordered a full 10 dishes, all of them hearty meat dishes. Even before the food was served, Sun Sherwu was drooling. So much food, can we finish it all? Yang just smiled. This place is delicious, we'll definitely finish everything. Before long, all the dishes were served. Yang continued. Uncle 15, dig in. You don't have to stand on ceremony with me. At her words, Sun Sherwu didn't even bother reaching for the chopsticks. He just grabbed a chunk of fatty meat with his hand and began wolfing it down. Delicious. So incredibly delicious. Sun Shiwu was so touched, he almost shed tears. After half a year, he was finally eating meat. He had suffered a lot for sure. And Yang sat across Sun Shiwu and spoke. Boss, a bottle of baijiu, please. The boss was quick to serve a bottle of erguo to liquor. And Yang personally served Sun Shiwu a cup. Uncle Five, eat slowly, let's have a drink first. Sun Shiwu mumbled his thanks, and then downed the entire drink. Great liquor. Really great liquor. Yang, I won't lie to you. Ever since that damned woman ran off with that little bastard, I haven't had a drink. Sun Shiwu felt like he was dreaming. Not only did he have meat, but now he was drinking as well. And Yang said, Uncle 15, drink slowly. Don't rush, all this liquor is yours. After devouring all 10 meat dishes, Sun Shiwu was left satisfactorily burping. It was amazing. The food was absolutely amazing. Yang, thank you so much. Sun Shiwu gratefully looked at Yang. I've never been as satisfied as I am today in my entire life. Yang laughed. Uncle 15, you don't have to be so polite. After all, Sister Dalian and I grew up together. You're her father, so that makes you my elder. Thanking me would be too formal. Even an outsider like Yang knew how to respect elders. What about his own daughter? She ran off with that flighty woman. The little wretch. If he knew where that wretch and the old hag were, he would make sure they wouldn't have it easy. Thinking about it made Sun Shiwu increasingly agitated. Knowing when to stop, Yang didn't say anything more. She turned to look at the restaurant boss. Boss, bring 2 bowls of braised pork and 2 grilled chickens, please. Sun Shiwu immediately said, Yang, there is no need to order anymore. Uncle is already full. Yang smiled faintly. Uncle, this is for you to take home and eat. Sun Shiwu, feeling a lump in his throat, didn't know what to say. Yang was such a good girl. How did he end up raising an ungrateful daughter? The restaurant's boss soon brought the packed braised pork and grilled chicken. Sun Shiwu took it with heartfelt gratitude towards Yang. Yang smiled and dismissed his thanks. Uncle 15, where do you live? I'll visit you sometime. Sun Shiwu didn't hesitate. I live at number 18 in the alley behind the street. The residents of 18th alleyway were all people struggling to get by. It was clear Sun Shiwu wasn't lying. Yang nodded. All right, I will surely visit when I have time. Leaving the restaurant, Yang took Sun Shiwu to a roadside stall and bought him 2 sets of new clothes. When he got home, Sun Shiwu found 50 yuan in the pocket of the clothes. 50 yuan. Not only had Yang treated him to a meal and bought him clothes, but she had also given him money. She was several times better than his own daughter. Thinking of Sun Dalian and Li Shu, Sun Shiwu's eyes filled with a vengeful glare. Wait and see, you wretches. One day, he will ensure their painful demise. As night slowly deepened, Sun Chuanxiang anxiously waited in the courtyard. She had no idea if those 2 had succeeded yet. They should have been successful, right? After all, Yang was just a young girl. And the 2 she had sent were robust men. Chapter 300. A very important person. _3. With that in mind, Sun Chuanxiang felt considerably relieved. She turned around and headed back to her room. After putting on a mask and a hat, she walked out. She had already coordinated with those 2 individuals. Once the job was done, they would meet in the dead-end alley in front of number 18, on the back street. When Sun Chuanxiang arrived at the dead-end alley, no one was there. Just then, everything went black before her eyes as she was hooded with a sack. Then came a flurry of punches and kicks raining down on her. Sun Chuanxiang rolled on the ground in pain. Unfortunately, this dead-end alley had been meticulously chosen by her. It was rarely traversed by anyone. Yang wielded a wooden stick yet displayed no signs of holding back. Sun Chuanxiang had tried to take her life. Why should Yang show her any mercy? She certainly wasn't a saint. Help! Help! Someone help me! Sun Chuanxiang, unable to see anything, cried out in desperation. Above every head, there watches a god. Sun Chuanxiang, this is your retribution. Yang's red lips barely moved. From them came a resonant masculine voice. It echoed faintly in the alley, resembling the voice of a bodhisattva from a TV show. People were somewhat superstitious those days. Upon hearing these words, Sun Chuanxiang got so frightened she wet herself. Spare my life, Bodhisattva. Spare my life. I will burn incense for you once I go back. I swear I'll never do bad things again. Let me mend my ways, please give me another chance. Sun Chuanxiang managed to struggle up and started kowtowing on the ground. Each kowtow resulted in the sack being smeared with more blood. I'll let you off today. And Aiyang tossed the wooden stick on Sun Chunxiang's body and walked away. Her footfalls were light, so light that they were practically silent. How could anyone walk without making a sound? This only served to reinforce Sun Chunxiang's belief that the individual was a bodhisattva. Too terrified to move, Sun Chuanxiang knelt on the ground. It was terrifying. Truly terrifying. She vowed never to do anything wrong again. Sun Chuanxiang, tears of pain streaming down her face, dragged her battered body and limped away. As she emerged from the alley, Sun Chuanxiang saw a person she did not expect. An Aiyang. It was March, and she was wearing a beige cheongsam with a dark blue coat draped over. Her hair was half tied up with a blue hairpin matching the coat. She exuded a radiant aura of beauty, like a figure stepping right out of a painting in the dusk. Having just done something wrong, Sun Chuanxiang did not dare to spare An Aiyang a glance. With a benevolent smile, An Aiyang approached and took the initiative to say hello. Aunt Sunday. Pale-faced with fright, Sun Chuanxiang collapsed to the ground sobbing. I'm sorry, An Aiyang. I was wrong. I shouldn't have been led astray and engaged those two to hurt you. Can you forgive me? An Aiyang gently helped her up. Aunt Sun, what happened? Somebody wanted to hurt me? I don't understand what you're talking about. Right. An Aiyang still didn't know about it. Hastily, Sun Chuanxiang covered her mouth. Nothing. Nothing. I didn't say anything. And with that, she scampered off, a picture of embarrassment. Watching her retreating figure, An Aiyang's lips curled slightly into a faint smile. Innocent and harmless, nobody could connect her to the violent girl swinging a wooden stick 10 minutes prior. Due to the enormous shock she had experienced, Sun Chuanxiang fell seriously ill that night. An Aiyang, on the other hand, made a hearty meal. Delicious dishes such as steamed mandarin fish, tender ginger stir-fry, anti-aging yam lamb, and many others. Of course, not forgetting the breast-enhancing sweet rice balls. Breast enhancement was a long-term project, and it couldn't be relaxed at all times. The three of them cleaned up the entire spread without leaving a crumb. While some found joy, some found sorrow. An Aiyang had a satisfying meal and a comfortable hot bath, but Zhang Xianjing didn't fare as well. She was thinly dressed, standing in the freezing wind outside the racecourse, shivering from the cold. She was waiting for someone. She was waiting for Mr. Mog. There were rumors that Mr. Mog would definitely leave the racecourse tonight. Zhang Xianjing wanted to have a coincidental meeting with Mr. Mog, while she also wanted to confirm if Mo Baichuan was indeed Mr. Mog. Just then, a tall and upright figure gradually walked out of the racecourse. Chapter 301. A very important person. _4. He was dressed in a black trench coat, a subtly glowing cigarette dangling from the corner of his mouth. His chiseled features concealed in the darkness of the night were somewhat elusive, but his entire being radiated a sense of mystery and elegance. It was Mr. Mog. It was him. Emotions surged in Zhang Xianjing. Quickly, she brushed her wind-blown hair hastily. But in the next second, her smile froze on her lips. Wasn't that Mo Qishan? Could it be possible that Mo Qishan was actually Mr. Mog? If Mo Qishan was indeed Mr. Mog, then how could she explain what happened last time? Before Zhang Xianjing could react further, two more figures slowly emerged from the darkness. That was Mo Baichuan. Relief washed over Zhang Xianjing. She had known all along that a useless man like Mo Qishan couldn't possibly be Mr. Mog. The real Mr. Mog must be Mo Baichuan. Ignoring Li Xianxian, Zhang Xianjing walked directly up to Mo Baichuan. Brother Baichuan. Xianjing, why are you still here this late? Mo Baichuan frowned slightly. Zhang Xianjing was 6 years younger than Mo Baichuan. Plus, the Mo and Zhang families had always been close. Hence, she and Baichuan had practically grown up together and shared a sentimental bond. Mo Baichuan had always treated Zhang Xianjing like a younger sister, Zhang Xianjing continued. Our car broke down, and the driver has gone to get it repaired. Could you give me a ride home, Brother Baichuan? As she finished her sentence, she gently pulled Baichuan's sleeve, looking like a helpless kitten. With her decent looks, this gesture only heightened her appeal. Li Xianxian, standing next to Mo Baichuan, was left grinding her teeth in irritation. She was a woman. Couldn't she see what Zhang Xianjing was trying to do? How shameless. She, the legitimate girlfriend, was standing right next to Mo Baichuan. Yet this little wench Zhang Xianjing had the audacity to flirt with him. Had Zhang Xianjing stopped considering her, the official girlfriend, at all? Let's go. I'll take you home. Mo Baichuan cast a glance at Zhang Xianjing. Thank you, Brother Baichuan. Zhang Xianjing sidestepped Li Xianxian, reaching out to hold on to Baichuan's arm directly. Zhang Xianjing had no fear of Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian was just an unwanted orphan, not worth Zhang Xianjing's consideration at all. When it was time to board the car, Li Xianxian made the first move, opening the front passenger seat and hopping in, leaving the back seat to Zhang Xianjing. Once her seatbelt was fastened, Li Xianxian turned to Mo Baichuan, demonstrating her understanding. Baichuan, a guest is a guest. Why don't we drop Xianjing off at home first? Mo Baichuan nodded in agreement. What a considerate guest. Zhang Xianjing looked at the back of Li Xianxian's head, narrowing her eyes slightly. It turned out she had underestimated Li Xianxian. This woman was much more cunning than she had imagined. The jeep sped along the highway when a black sedan whisked past them. The car window was half open, and for a moment, Zhang Xianjing thought she spotted a familiar profile. Was it Mo Qixin? By the time Zhang Xianjing looked up, the black car had already disappeared. She must have seen wrong. The car that had just sped past was a luxury imported car. Even the Zhang family didn't have the means to acquire such a vehicle. Could a small fry like Mo Qixin afford one? With that thought in mind, Zhang Xianjing's eyes filled with contempt once more. In fact, Zhang Xianjing was right. The man in the car was indeed Mo Qixin. The driver was Wu Daming. Sixth brother, you won't be leaving again after this trip, will you? Mo Qixin flicked his cigarette lazily. Who knows? Has your family's house been built yet? Wu Daming shook his head. It's under construction. Expected to be completed by June. By the way, sixth sister-in-law's house is also under construction. Have you decided on a gift yet? Wu Daming was trying to remind Mo Qixin that Yang had not bought a house but was building one instead. Only a simpleton like Mo Qixin would have bought a house. The thought of Ma Shinshin pouring so much money into it made Wu Daming's heart ache. During the time Mo Qixin was away from Beijing, he was oblivious to Yang's situation. He didn't miss her till now, but the moment she was mentioned, every part of Mo Qixin started to ache. He hadn't seen his wife for so long, how could he not miss her? Mo Qixin took a deep puff of his cigarette, exhaling a ring of smoke. Look out for imported refrigerators and washing machines. His wife's beautiful hands certainly wouldn't be subjected to the rough job of washing clothes. A refrigerator was also indispensable. With summer approaching, having a refrigerator would not only be convenient, but would also allow access to cold drinks. Chapter 302. A very important person. _5. After some thought, Mo Qixin added, also keep an eye out for window units. In this era, air conditioning did not exist yet, but window units did. A window unit functioned in the same way as an air conditioner, and was its predecessor. However, it was a self-contained unit that provided cooling, but not heating. During this time, window units were generally imported from our country, and were pricey. Ordinary households could only afford to look on from a distance. Even wealthy families needed to use their connections to get one. However, Mo Qixin could easily obtain as many of these units as he wanted by simply asking for them. Understood, Brother Six. Wu Daming nodded, then asked, Brother Six, where will we be heading tonight? Mo Qixin rubbed his temples, showing signs of fatigue. Let's go back to the manor. Wu Daming had originally planned to discuss the house matter further with Mo Qixin. Seeing Mo Qixin's fatigue, however, he decided against it. The noodle restaurant and milk tea shop were still doing an excellent business with daily profits being quite substantial. This instilled in Yang the idea of opening more branches. If you want to multiply money, opening more branches is essential. Sticking to the status quo means never earning more. Although Young did not have a lot of extra cash, she did have enough to buy a shop. Young walked down the street and cast her gaze on Sun Chungxiang's sour fish stall. While Sun Chungxiang's pickled fish noodles were not tasty, their reputation for deliciousness had already spread in the vicinity. With Yang's shop often experiencing long queues, Sun Chungxiang managed to earn some money every day. But if a shop was opened directly across from Sun Chungxiang's stall, would people still go to her noodle stall? Young had no intention of letting Sun Chungxiang off easily. Young gave a slight smile and turned to walk towards the opposite shops. There is a row of shops here. Some were in business, and some vacant shops were for lease. Young took a fancy to two adjacent shops. One of the shops was 65 square meters, and the other was 20 square meters. The larger one would be used to sell sour fish, while the smaller one would sell milk tea. Just as Young was surveying the surroundings, an elderly man with white hair approached her and asked softly, "Young lady, are you thinking of buying these two shops?" Young nodded. "Yes, old man." Upon hearing this, the old man immediately became agitated and shook his head, repeatedly saying, "You can't buy them, absolutely not. These two shops mustn't be bought." Young asked curiously, "Why not?" The old man whispered, "Young lady, let me tell you, these two shops are notorious. Before you there have been 3 buyers. They sold fruits, clothes and even rice, but they all ended up closing. These shops have bad feng shui." Young smiled slightly. "Thank you for your warning, old man. But my luck is very strong. Don't worry, I will be fine." Even though she had gone through reincarnation, Young still didn't believe in feng shui. Even if someone gave you a place with excellent feng shui, if you don't know how to do business, you would still end up closing in the end. Everything is up to oneself. In this world, there are only useless people, there are no useless things. Upon hearing her words, the old man could only shake his head and sigh. Not taking advice from seniors, you'll suffer in front of your eyes. Young didn't mind the old man's words. She paid over 40,000 yuan and got the property certificate. The other shop owners around looked at Young coming out after paying, as if they were looking at a fool. Why does that young girl look so familiar? I think she does look familiar. Is she the boss who sells the pickled vegetable noodles? It looks like it's her. It's a pity though. She has such a good business, and yet she bought 2 cursed shops. When her business dies, she won't even know why. Young people these days sure have guts. Young didn't care about their regretful words, and continued walking calmly. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out from behind. Yang. Was it my imagination? Yang's steps faltered. She turned around and looked back. Mo Qishan was standing under the sunlight, smiling gently at Yang. Under the sunlight, his eyes were as deep as the sea, shining like they had their own light. It wasn't an illusion. Yang gave a slight smile, her dimples barely showing on her cheeks. She walked quickly towards Mo Qishan. "Brother Mo, it really is you. I thought I heard wrong." Chapter 303. A very important person. _6. After almost 2 months apart, his wife seemed to have become more beautiful. The sight of her 2 shallow dimples made Mo Qishan feel slightly dazed. "Brother Mo?" Young waved her hand in front of his face. Mo Qishan snapped back to reality, instinctively revealing his whereabouts. "I had to leave town on the 2nd day of the month, and just returned yesterday. The trip was so rushed, I didn't have a chance to inform you." Young nodded. "I was wondering why I hadn't seen you for such a long time." The two walked and talked, and in no time they arrived at the noodle restaurant. It was break time, so there were no clients lining up outside the noodle restaurant. Young asked, "Brother Mo, have you eaten? Shall I cook noodles for you?" "Sure." Mo Qishan nodded. "Thank you, Yang." Even with a full stomach, he still felt hungry for his wife's freshly cooked noodles. In just a little while, Yang brought out the noodles. Mo Qishan stood up to take the noodles, and in no time he finished a large bowl of noodles. Seeing him eat so quickly, Yang stood up and said, "Brother Mo, I'll cook another bowl for you." He must have been ravenous, otherwise he wouldn't have eaten so quickly. In truth, Emochishin was overly stuffed. Only God knew that he had just eaten a steak. He'd rather endure short-term pain. Hence why he ate so quickly. Hearing this, Emochishin immediately stood up and grabbed Yang-Yang's hand. Yang-Yang, I'm full. Their hands touching sent a jolt through them. Emochishin quickly pulled back. Yang-Yang, I'm really full. Seeing Yang-Yang's relaxed demeanor, he too relaxed significantly. Yang-Yang, when have I ever been reserved with you? By the way, my mother is hosting a tea party at home tomorrow. Would you like to join us? Xiaodai misses you a lot. Xiaodai truly missed her. He too missed her. Emochishin had never felt so weak. His beloved was right in front of him. Yet he dared not confess his feelings. He was already 28 years old. Yang was only 18. He feared scaring Yang. What scared him even more was the thought that he might not be deserving of Yang. If he ended up frightening Yang, they wouldn't even be able to maintain their friendship. At least right now, even if nothing else, they could still be friends. Yang happily said, sure. She should be able to see Li Xianxian, who was essentially the approved granddaughter-in-law, at the Mo family's tea party. Anytime Li Xianxian was unhappy, she was happy. With that thought, Yang unconsciously curled her lips into a smile. Yang. Emochishin couldn't help blurting out. At this moment, thousands of voices in his heart were clamoring. Confess. Confess. If you can't even say I like you, are you even a man? Yang lifted her eyes to look at Emochishin, her exquisite peach blossom eyes crystal clear. Seeing those crystal clear eyes, the confession Emochishin intended died on his lips. He said instead, Yang, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning, okay? Yang said, I'll wait for you at home. Emochishin maintained his calm demeanor after he spoke. However, he was already feeling utterly defeated inside. He really was useless. In order to show his best self in front of Yang, Emochishin didn't return home in the afternoon, but stayed behind to help at the noodle restaurant instead. Watching that busy figure inside the restaurant, Marcus and Morris sitting in the car thought they were going blind. It was one thing to have seen Emochishin pouring wine and handing out cigarettes to a bunch of workers at the noodle restaurant last time. But this time, why was he even doing menial work? Regardless of pursuing his wife, he shouldn't have to demean himself like this, right? After all, with his status clear to anyone who cared to look, he only needed to shed his disguise and countless wealthy young ladies would rush to swoon over him. When Yang returned home in the evening, she spoke to Wang Tiniu about her intention to buy a shop. The renovation wasn't in a hurry, and could wait until Wang Tiniu finished building the house. Wang Tiniu was known for his responsible work attitude. Yang didn't wish to look for other construction teams. Upon hearing this, Wang Tiniu said, Yang, thank you for trusting me so much. I have a cousin who's also a bricklayer. I can ask him if he could help you out? Wang Tienia's cousin lived under harsh circumstances. He even borrowed 100 yuan from Wang Tiniu last December for the New Year celebrations. So Wang Tiniu wanted to give this opportunity to his cousin and help him out. Yang nodded her head. Sure, then please, Uncle Tiniu, communicate this to him for me. You're aware of the labor cost. If he has time, he can start at any time. Okay. I'll visit him tonight. Thank you so much, Yang. Wang Tiniu exclaimed excitedly. Yang replied with a smile. Uncle Tiniu, you've helped me so much. I should be the one thanking you. The next morning, Emochishin arrived timely on that bicycle to pick up Yang. Yang was still wearing the beige cheongsam from yesterday, with a dark blue coat over it. Dark blue was a picky color, but when worn by Yang, it only highlighted her skin, fair and snowy, with lips as bright as oil rouge. Whether it was the brilliant red or the low-key beige, both colors were perfectly embodied by her, as if all the colors were created just for her. Brother Emo, let's go. Yang got on the back seat of the bicycle, naturally placing her hand on Emochishin's waist. Seeing the hand on his waist, Emochishin's lips slightly curved. His otherwise empty heart was filled in an instant, and he inadvertently sped up his pedaling. In no time at all, they arrived at the Mo family villa. Since it was a tea party, Many well-known young ladies and wealthy wives who had a good relationship with the Mo family were gathered in the villa's hall. As soon as Yang stepped in, she was warmly greeted by Lady Mo and Mo Hutie. Yang is here. Sister Yang. With that, Mo Qishan, the biological son and nephew, was disregarded and left aside. Hearing the commotion, Li Xianxian, who was engaged in a conversation, lifted her head and looked over, only to catch sight of Yang. Yang. Why was it her again? Li Xianxian squinted her eyes and turned to look at Mo Baichuan, only to find his gaze unconsciously drifting towards Yang. This wouldn't do, she had to stop things from progressing like this. She needed to find a way to make the Mo family dislike Yang. Otherwise, Mo Baichuan would eventually be snatched away by Yang one day. Because at Grandmother Mo's birthday banquet last time, Yang had worn a striking cheongsam. Everyone was impressed by her traditional, yet fashionable dress. Subsequently, the high society started favoring the vintage style. And among the young ladies currently standing in the hall, the majority were wearing cheongsams. Originally, Li Xianxian was the one being praised and imitated by everyone since she was always at the forefront of fashion trends. Now that suddenly someone else was in that position, Li Xianxian felt a jumble of emotions in her heart, and felt uncomfortable. Despite her feeling uncomfortable, Li Xianxian still warmly went up to Yang and said softly, "Sister Yang." Chapter 304. Defeating Li Xianxian. Gaining little fangirls _1 Li Xianxian was still at the forefront of fashion today. She wore a black two-piece doll collar knitted blouse underneath, paired with a figure-hugging mini leather skirt, nude tights, and topped with a pure white fur mini coats. It was a dazzling and beautiful outfit, but standing next to the understated elegance of a cheongsam, it seemed somewhat vulgar. Especially since Yang was naturally a clothes horse with a good figure and exquisite facial features. Even with minimal makeup, her beauty was captivating. In fact, Li Xianxian was quite attractive herself, or else she wouldn't have caught Mrs. Mo's eye. Before Yang appeared in the Mo family, she was definitely considered outstanding among the society ladies and young misses. But everything changed since Yang made her appearance. Even the popular elements within their circle had changed. How is it that her trendy attire couldn't compare to the outdated cheongsam? A flash of jealousy swiftly passed through Li Xianxian's eyes, wishing she could scar Yang's face. Yang pretended not to see the look in Li Xianxian's eyes, holding Li Xianxian's hand, "Sister Xianxian." Li Xianxian was already acting very cordially, but Yang was even more enthusiastic. To outsiders, the two of them seemed like close sisters. If it's acting, who couldn't? A smile danced in Yang's eyes. Li Xianxian pulled Yang to sit down on the sofa. "Yang, we've known each other for so long, but I still don't know where you're from?" Yang gave a small smile. "I'm from Dam Village in Haicheng City." Dam Village. A calculating glint surfaced in Li Xianxian's eyes. How honest of her. She's still young and naive. I will make sure she won't know what hit her. Dam Village. Li Xianxian acted as if she had discovered something astonishing. "So you really are from Dam Village, Yang?" Yang nodded, confusion flickering in her eyes, playing along with Li Xianxian. Soon she'd make Li Xianxian dig her own grave. "Sister Xianxian, do you know who I was before?" Li Xianxian smiled. "It's not that I know you, but one of my classmates saw you and felt like she knew you. However, she said your name was Muyang back then, so I wasn't sure." There was a hint of contemplating in Li Xianxian's voice as she trailed off. "Muyang?" Upon hearing this, both Mrs. Mo and Lin Pingping looked over in their direction. Yang didn't deny it, her smile remained. "Yes, my last name used to be Mu." Everyone has a past, and Yang wasn't someone who would cover up. Moreover, she hadn't done anything shameful. Li Xianxian hesitated. "I also heard from my classmate that your parents seem to have divorced?" Yang, couples quarrel all the time. No matter what, you can't just abandon the family. Go back and convince your mother, make her think clearly. You're still young, and so is your sister. You can't go on without a father. In this era, getting a divorce isn't a good look. Divorced women are regarded with disdain. The Grandemo family, how could they tolerate a granddaughter-in-law with such a stain? Li Xianxian wanted Yang to embarrass herself, She wanted everyone in the Mo family to dislike her. Moreover, Li Xianxian was painting Enai Tsuehua as a sinner, a woman who abandoned her husband and family. Isn't that why Enai Tsuehua and Enai Yang abandoned their family in Haiqing to come to Beijing? Upon hearing this, the expressions in the other's eyes changed. Like father like son, like mother like daughter. Can a bad woman raise a good daughter? Of course not. The tea party was meant for mingling and chatting. Who would have thought there would be so much drama? Enai Yang gave a slight smile, then turned to Li Xianxian. My dad abused my mom and even had an affair. He even had an illegitimate child. Should we keep such a man and celebrate the new year with him? Li Xianxian was stunned. She didn't expect Enai Yang to counterattack like this. Shouldn't Enai Yang be feeling ashamed and discomfited? Is divorcing something to be proud of? But that's okay. The more agitated Enai Yang becomes, the more she'll embarrass herself. Li Xianxian sighed, then continued. Yang, I think you're being too radical. As a child, you should try to look at things from your father's perspective and understand why he sought other women. Long live understanding. Chapter 305. Defeats Li Xianxian. Gains younger female fans _2. Understanding. Enai Yang's expression remained unchanged. How do you think I should understand, Sister Xianxian? Li Xianxian hesitated and continued. I heard it was because my aunt couldn't have a son, so my uncle sought someone else. We can't entirely blame my uncle. After all, a male child is the lifeline of a family. My uncle did wrong out of desperation for a son. No matter what, he is your father. As children, we should acknowledge our parents, no matter what, even if they committed murder. Actually, Yang, I really envy you. Your parents are still together, unlike me. I don't even know what my parents look like. By the end of her sentence, Li Xianxian's eyes had reddened. She made it seem like Enai Yang was oblivious to her good fortune. At the same time, her words successfully painted Enai Yang as an unfilial daughter who did not recognize her biological father. Mo Baichuan on the side took a sip of tea, the corner of his mouth twitching into a slight smile. He was interested in seeing how Enai Yang would resolve this crisis. Li Xianxian was well educated, while Enai Yang was merely a country girl. No matter how skillful Enai Yang was in arguing, she couldn't beat Li Xianxian. Sister Xianxian, you're really noble, tolerating even something like this. Enai Yang's expression was mild, and her lips held a faint smile, seemingly unperturbed by Li Xianxian's words. Li Xianxian continued. Actually, this is not a big deal. Besides, we girls should obey our fathers when we're home and our husbands when we're married. At that time, China had only recently been freed. Many people still held this outdated submit to the father at home and husband when married mentality. Gender equality was a thing of the future. Which married woman does not wish to have a son? Without a son, a woman lacked status in her husband's family. Of course, Li Xianxian, who came from the past, did not have these old-fashioned thoughts. The only reason she said these words was to please Grandma Mo. She was trying to show her virtuous and well-behaved side to Grandma Mo. In families like the Mo family that had a long legacy, these outdated ideas were more prevalent than in ordinary people. Enai Yang smiled lightly, lifting her eyes to Li Xianxian. Then I wish Sister Xianxian to marry a husband who is abusive, cheats in marriage, and seeks other women to bear sons. Upon hearing this, Li Xianxian's face changed. Yang, what do you mean by that? Was Enai Yang jealous of her and therefore cursing her? Having experienced a rebirth, Li Xianxian attached great importance to these matters. She was afraid that Enai Yang's curse would come true. Enai Yang smiled faintly. There's no special meaning. I just want you to understand the saying, do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Li Xianxian was stunned for a moment. Then her eyes reddened with grievance. Sorry, Yang, I didn't mean that. I just think that divorce carries a bad reputation. Grandma Mo frowned slightly. She felt that Li Xianxian was a bit petty. Enai Yang was just returning the favor. Yet Li Xianxian acted as if she had been wronged. It was quite unbecoming. Enai Yang asked with a smile. Divorce has a bad reputation? What's wrong with divorce? Where there's oppression there are protests. Are we women naturally destined to be bullied? Those who don't fight back after being bullied aren't people, they're like doormats. Sister Xianxian, it's a new era now. We women must not stand still. We must respect ourselves, be independent and resilient, and not let anyone look down on us. On hearing this, the others also nodded in agreement. Why should women always be the ones being bullied? If they can't have a son, it's the woman's fault. If they are divorced, it's the woman who gets the blame? It's too unfair for women in this world. Especially Lin Pingping, who had experienced divorce. She knew the bitterness of it. Li Xianxian was just trying to show her virtuous and well-behaved side to Grandma Mo and Mo Baichuan. She didn't expect to cause public outrage. Her face took on an awkward color right then. Looking at Lin Pingping's face, Li Xianxian's heart skipped a beat. She had forgotten about Lin Pingping. Lin Pingping was Grandma Mo's only niece. By saying divorce carries a bad reputation, wasn't she indirectly offending Grandma Mo? Li Xianxian hurriedly tried to rectify the situation, her eyes becoming even redder. Yang, you misunderstood me. I simply meant a family should have descendants, and uncle only wanted a son. As his children, we cannot deny our own father. Chapter 306, Dominating Li Xianxian, Gaining Little Fangirls _3. Li Xianxian was a very timely person. She knew she had just spoken inappropriately, so she had now redirected the issue to Yang. Filial piety is a virtue, but Yang disowned her biological father. Could she be a good girl? In this era, where males are valued over females, all she had to do was insist that Suehua was unable to bear a son. So, if you can't bear a son yourself, won't you allow your husband to seek another woman to bear one? Li Xianxian never gossiped about others, but she was adept at speaking ambiguously, changing the subject and letting others fill in the blanks. She was a clever woman, so most of the time, things would go the way she envisioned, but today, the person standing before her was Yang. Could Yang make things go smoothly for Li Xianxian? Yang replied with a faint smile. Sister Xianxian, your enlightenment isn't high enough. The chairman has said that men and women are equal now. Why do you see only boys as the successors in your eyes? Aren't girls human too? According to your logic, if a woman can't have a son, the man should go and find other women. Wouldn't that mean that 80% of women have to endure their husband's infidelity? Moreover, Sister Xianxian, you're a college student. You should know that giving birth to boys or girls isn't something a girl can determine, right? The last sentence could be said to be every woman's sentiment. Because the gender of a child fundamentally doesn't depend on the woman. Similarly, this erroneous thought has harmed many people. Women are like fields, while men are the seeds. The field only provides nutrients and moisture, and ultimately what crop grows depends on the seed. At these words, others around started to agree. Yes, Yang is right. Yang has spoken very well. Li Xianxian, being a woman yourself, how can you look down on women so much? Yang's eyes were filled with laughter, and shallow dimples appeared at the corners of her mouth. Sister Xianxian, in palatable terms, your thinking is praiseworthy while in reality, it's being ignorant. Hearing the accusing voices around her, the color gradually drained from Li Xianxian's face. She hadn't expected things to turn out this way. Yang was merely an unsophisticated village lass. Where did she get all this profound reason? Li Xianxian also came from the country. She knew too well the conditions there. Due to lack of transportation and inadequate education, there the men were prioritized, and ignorance prevailed. Even Li Xianxian, before reincarnation, was just an ignorant country girl. How could Yang know such profound principles? She's behaving completely uncharacteristic of a village girl, rather like an educated intellectual. Could Yang have been this impressive when she was 18? Li Xianxian clenched her lips. Beads of cold sweat trailed down her spine. What should she do? What should she do now? Lin Pingping, supporting Madame Mo's arm, had a pleased smile on her face. She knew that Yang wasn't someone to be trifled with. Calm and composed, articulate and clear, this child could tackle big situations. Madame Mo looked at Yang, with satisfaction in her eyes. Turning her eyes to Li Xianxian, the layer of liking in Madame Mo's eyes had been replaced by disappointment. Mo Kishin's eyes were practically sparkling. How amazing was his wife! He liked his wife more and more. Yang Yang, have some water. Mo Qishan passed a cup of tea to Yang. Thank you, brother Mo. Yang took the cup. This unexpected twist in front of him had completely overturned Mo Baichuan's opinion of Yang. Could it be that Yang wasn't purposely placed by someone near him to get closer to him? He wouldn't believe it. A little farmer girl who only graduated from junior high school, having such high enlightenment? Even knowing about gender equality. In order to get close to him, these people really had racked their brains. Mo Baichuan's eyes glinted dangerously as he drank his tea. Looking at Li Xiangxian's distressed and sweaty appearance, Yang felt incredibly relaxed. She took a sip of tea and then grabbed Li Xiangxian's hand. Sister Xianxian, the words I just said were only directed at the topic itself, not at you. Please don't be angry. Don't be angry? What was Yang implying? A slap and then a sweet date? But at this moment, Li Xianxian could only balk, swallowing her protest. Listening to you is better than studying for 10 years. Yang, you're absolutely right. How could I possibly be angry? Yang gave a small smile. I knew Sister Xianxian is magnanimous and wouldn't be mad at me. Chapter 307. Defeating Li Xianxian, gaining little fangirls _4. Li Xianxian managed to keep a smile on her face, though she was so angry that her fingertips were shaking. Oh! Yang exclaimed in surprise. Sister Xianxian, why is your hand shaking? She did it on purpose. Yang absolutely did it on purpose. As Li Xianxian looked up, she met Yang's peach blossom eyes overflowing with laughter. The corners of her mouth lifted in a faint dimple. It was blinding. Yang feigned concern. Sister Xianxian, are you not wearing enough clothes? Killing Li Xianxian would be easy. But Yang didn't want her to die so easily. Because boiling a frog in warm water was more fun. At that moment, old lady Mo spoke up. I think Xianxian is feeling unwell. Baichuan, you should take Xianxian to rest first. Old lady Mo was no fool. Could she not see through Li Xiangxian's thoughts? Li Xianxian should take this opportunity to reflect on herself. Hearing this, Li Xiangxian's face turned from slightly pale to ashen. Old lady Mo's words seemed caring on the surface, but they were in reality, driving her away from the Mo family. Li Xianxian never imagined that things would turn out this way. The person who should have been driven out of the Mo family should have been Yang. Why was it her? Though Li Xianxian was utterly unwilling, she had no choice but to maintain a decorous and graceful front. Any further fuss would only be counterproductive. Thank you for caring, Grandma. I do feel a bit of a headache. Then I will leave first. Li Xianxian rose to her feet, her face pale, her body shaky. It was pitiful to watch. Old lady Mo nodded. Go. Baichuan rose to his feet, following Li Xiangxian's steps. He took an extra glance at Yang before leaving, but Yang remained nonchalant about him helping Li Xianxian home. Humph! Baichuan curled his lips. She was playing quite the part. Once Li Xianxian left, the atmosphere lightened considerably. Everyone was chatting and laughing. These wealthy ladies were normal folks after all. With Yang's vast experiences, it was effortless to communicate with them. She even gained a little admirer. The little admirer was Li Yanran, a 19-year-old freshman. She admired Yang to the fullest. Yang, are you really from the countryside? Yanran asked curiously. Yang knew she meant no harm, and nodded with a smile. Yes. You are incredible. Yanran exclaimed excitedly. You have no idea how awful Li Xiangxian's face looked just now. Initially, Yanran thought Yang was just a beautiful face. She didn't expect such a powerful spirit concealed beneath that gorgeous surface. She was simply a role model for modern women. If the term goddess existed in this era, Yang would undoubtedly be the unrivaled goddess in Yanran's heart. Yang modestly touched her nose. I'm just average. Yanran clung to Yang's arm. Yang, you're too humble. Let me tell you, I've been disliking Li Xianxian for a long time. She's sour, always tries to show off in public, and acts differently behind our backs. She's so fake. And all she does is disgrace our Li family. Before Yang could answer, Yanran continued. Yang, where do you live? Can I visit you in the future? Of course, Young wouldn't refuse a kind social invitation, and she nodded with a smile. Of course, I live at 58 Jinghua Village. Yanran said, we live in Wanqing Villa, Block 68. You should come and visit me when you have time as well. For the entire afternoon, Yanran stuck to Yang. It was hard for Mo Qishan to even say a word to Yang. Fortunately, Yanran was a girl. Otherwise, Mo Qishan would have thought Yanran was taking a liking to his wife. Only when the tea party finally ended, and Yanran left was Mo Qishan able to chat with Yang. After the tea party ended, Yang bid old lady Mo farewell, preparing to go home. The duty of sending Yang home naturally fell on Mo Qishan. The same familiar bicycle. Yang sat on the back seat, her lips curved in a faint smile, her dimples shallow. The setting sun stretched their shadows long. Brother Mo, stop at the vegetable market up ahead. I want to buy some groceries to take home. Okay. This was Mo Qishan's first time visiting the vegetable market. Although it was winter, the smell inside was less than pleasant. Mo Qishan was tall and lanky, with handsome features adorned with a touch of elegance. Standing in the bustling vegetable market, he attracted a lot of attention. Countless young women stole glances at him, their eyes gleaming with curiosity. Chapter 308. Defeating Li Xianxian, gaining little fangirls _5. Yin walked up to a vegetable stall. Aunt Lu, could you please weigh 3 pounds of bean sprouts for me, and then 3 pounds of kelp? The stall owner, upon looking up and seeing Mo Qishan standing next to Yin, his eyes sparkled. Yang, is this your boyfriend? He's quite a looker. Boyfriend. Somehow, upon hearing these words, Mo Qishan's face flushed red, bubbling a pleasant feeling within him. Yin gave a slight smile. Aunt Lu, you've misunderstood. He's not my boyfriend, just a good friend. The stall owner laughed. Yang, stop beating around the bush. Look at how red this young man's face has become. Still saying he's not your boyfriend? Hearing this, Yin decided not to explain any further. The more she explained, the more unclear it became. But why was Mo Qishan's face so red? As a grown man, his skin seemed too thin. Yin then went with Mo Qishan to buy some beef, lamb, and pork. She bought a lot, at least 3 pounds to start off with. Mo Qishan, intrigued, asked, Yang, can you finish all this? Yin replied, I'm planning to go to Guangguan tomorrow, so I'm buying a bit more. It's inconvenient for my mom to go grocery shopping with the kids. Going to Guangguan? What time is your train? Mo Qishan asked next. Yin shook her head. I haven't bought the train ticket yet. I'm not in a rush. I'll just get one tomorrow whenever it's available. Mo Qishan said, train tickets to Guangguan are not easy to get. It just so happens that I have some matters to attend to there as well. I can accompany you. Guangguan is near the border, and it's not safe for a young girl like you. Leave the train tickets to me. I'll get the ones for tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Guangguan indeed was in an unrest state, with gangsters running rampant, and Yin drawing attention due to her looks. Although he knew Yin was well capable of defending herself, she was after all a girl. If anything were to happen, it would indeed be her at loss. Yin quirked an eyebrow. Didn't you say train tickets are hard to get? Mo Qishan smilingly said, I happen to have a classmate who's a ticket seller. All right. Yin nodded. Thank you then, Brother Mo. You agreed, Yang? The sudden surprise caught Mo Qishan off guard. He had assumed that Yin, given her personality, would certainly reject his offer. Yin laughed. Why wouldn't I agree if I have a free bodyguard? She didn't dislike Mo Qishan. Quite the contrary, she enjoyed the feeling of being with him. Life is short. If you like someone, why not accept their offer? Given a second life, Yin did not want to compromise her happiness and satisfaction. Mo Qishan masked his excitement, responded, All right, I'll wait for you at the station tomorrow morning. Sure. Yin nodded in agreement. After dropping Yin off, Mo Qishan arrived at a building. Just as he arrived at the entrance, Morris and Marcus hurriedly greeted him. Sir, the plane tickets are booked. When do we depart? Walking while removing his windbreaker, Mo Qishan said, No longer going to F country, Go book me 2 train tickets to Guangguan for tomorrow morning at 8. The assistant following behind immediately reached out to take the windbreaker from him. No more F country? Going to Guangguan? Taking the train? Did the boss get a fever? Morris and Marcus looked at each other, both seeing the doubt and confusion in the other's eyes. After a moment of thought, Emochishan added, "Oh right, the tickets need to be for a soft sleeper berth, preferably side by side." Soft sleeper place? Isn't it always the plane when Emochishan travels? What on earth is a soft sleeper berth? After a bit, Morris finally asked, "Sir, are you sure you no longer wish to go to F country? Your vineyard and castle wait there for you, needing your attention." "No longer going." Emochishan unbuttoned his cuffs. "Go buy the tickets right away." Could a vineyard and castle be more important than his darling? Of course not. "All right," Morris said. "The boss word is final." At this time, Anai Yin was in the kitchen cooking. In addition to the regular nourishing and beauty foods for the night, she also wanted to make a dish of boiled pork slices. After she had fried everything else, Anai Yin began preparing the boiled pork slices. The best-tasting boiled pork slices are made with loin meat. Anai Yin had good knife skills. She cut the pork into evenly thick slices, then coated them with egg, flour, and left them to marinate for 10 minutes in a dish. While the pork was marinating, Anai Yin began to cook the base ingredients. Chapter 309. Defeating Li Xianxian, gaining little fangirls _6. First, heat up the rapeseed oil, then add in the broad bean sauce to bring out the reddish oil, followed by a fragrant blend of green onion, ginger, garlic, star anise, cinnamon bark, and Sichuan pepper. Soon, the kitchen was filled with a tantalizing aroma. Once the base sauce was ready, add water and bring it to a boil. Add the marinated meat slices, then place the pre-boiled bean sprouts and tofu skin in a large bowl, and ladle in the boiled meat slices. The meat slices should not be boiled for too long, otherwise they will become stiff and tough, which will affect the texture. Then sprinkle roasted sesame seeds, green onions, cilantro, and Sichuan pepper on top of the meat slices. Finally, pour the heated rapeseed oil over it. With a sizzling sound, a large bowl of appetizing boiled meat slices was ready. Anai Yang could control the heat perfectly, so the texture of the boiled meat slices was superb. It had a spicy, fresh scent, and was incredibly tender. It was so good that one could hardly stop eating. With a piece of boiled meat slices, one could eat several mouthfuls of rice. "Delicious, it's so delicious." Anai Chingue excitedly said, Yang, what is this dish called?" Anai Yang replied with a smile, "This is called boiled meat slices." "Boiled meat slices? Where does this dish come from?" Anai Chingue asked. Anai Yang replied, "This is a dish from Sichuan and Chongqing. I saw it in a food recipe." Anai Chingue nodded. Yang, you are amazing." After dinner, Anai Yang told Anai Tsuehua that she was going to be out of town the next day. Anai Tsuehua expressed her concerns. Yang, is it safe for a girl like you to travel that far?" Anai Chingue said, Yang, if you like, I can go with you. The shop will be fine with Jean. She has 2 others to help her. I heard that Guangguan can be quite chaotic. Guangguan is near our country, where it has always been rather turbulent, with a mix of different types of people and plenty of hooligans. Anai Yang smiled and said, "Don't worry. We are living in a society governed by law now, and besides, I am not alone. Brother Emo is coming with me." Upon hearing that Emochishan would be accompanying her, Anai Tsuehua and Anai Chingue were immediately relieved. "When will you be back then?" Anai Tsuehua asked. Anai Yang answered, "It takes 2 days to travel from Beijing to Guangguan by train, and I'll need some time to run errands. All in all, it'll take about a week to return." Knowing that Anai Yang had important things to do, Anai Tsuehua did not say more, and simply nodded. "All right, Yang, you can go without worries. Your auntie and I will take care of the home. Don't stay up late tonight, rest early. You'll need to get up early tomorrow." The next morning, Anai Yang woke up at a little past 5. By 7:30, when she arrived at the train station, she saw that Emochishan was already waiting for her on the platform with his suitcase. "Brother Emo." Emochishan raised his eyes and saw the girl running towards him. Yang, no need to run. We still have plenty of time. Mo Qishan extended his hand to steady Enai Yang's arm. Shall we go into the station? Yes. Mo Qishan nodded and reached out to take her suitcase. The two of them walked side by side to the sleeper car. A sleeper car compartment had 4 beds. When Mo Qishan and Enai Yang entered, the 2 upper bunks were still unoccupied. Enai Yang stowed her suitcase under the bed, then took out some money from her bag. Brother Mo, erase the money for the train ticket. Mo Qishan was about to refuse. After all, what's wrong with buying a train ticket for his future wife? All his money would be hers in the future anyway. But then Enai Yang continued, Brother Mo, if you don't accept it, I won't travel with you next time. Inherently, Enai Yang was never one to depend on men. Though it was true that she had feelings for Mo Qishan, never did she have the thought of relying on him. Upon hearing her words, Mo Qishan had no choice but to accept. Even though it was time for the train to depart, the 2 people who were supposed to occupy the upper bunks had not arrived. But Enai Yang didn't think much of it. Maybe those 2 berths simply were not sold. After all, sleeper tickets were quite expensive. It was quite warm inside the car, and Enai Yang removed her jacket, revealing a loose-fitting white knitted sweater underneath. Despite the oversized fit, it couldn't hide her curvaceous figure, particularly when she bent over to adjust the blankets. Mo Qishan uncomfortably averted his gaze, his ears turning slightly red, and silently pulled the blanket over himself. Brother Mo, do you want to eat something? Enai Yang offered him a bag of sunflower seeds. Mo Qishan cleared his throat with a light cough. No. Enai Yang then handed over a cup of milk tea. Then have a cup of milk tea, your throat sounds a bit uncomfortable. The tips of Mo Qishan's ears went red again for an instant. He reached out to take the milk tea. Thank you. Enai Yang chuckled lightly. Brother Mo, when did you start being so polite to me? Mo Qishan stopped talking, put the straw in, and began to drink the milk tea. The cool milk tea soothed his throat, seemingly easing the heat in his heart. With Mo Qishan's company, the train journey was not boring at all. They chatted all the way until the afternoon when Enai Yang, leaning against the wall, yawned lazily. I'm feeling a bit sleepy, Brother Mo, are you tired? Her eyes were sparkling with a soft glint of water, making Mo Qishan's heart skip a beat. I'm all right. Mo Qishan's voice was low. You go ahead and sleep. Enai Yang crawled under the blanket. I'll take a nap then. Before long, even breaths could be heard from under the blanket. When Enai Yang fell asleep, she also pulled her head under the blanket. Mo Qishan had once read a psychology book. The book stated that those who liked to sleep this way often lacked a sense of security. Mo Qishan pulled back the blanket and walked over to Enai Yang. He gently pulled back her blanket, revealing a face with exquisite features. Pretty girls, even their sleeping expressions are beautiful. Mo Qishan gazed at her attentively, reached out, and touched the thick eyelashes that looked like a fan. Yang, can I give you a sense of security from now on? Enai Yang, who was in deep sleep, seemed to sense something, and rubbed her eyes. Mo Qishan was startled and quickly jumped back onto the upper bunk. Seeing that Enai Yang didn't make any further movement, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. He truly liked her a lot. Just being with her, even if they did nothing, made his heart sweet as honey. Enai Yang slept until a little past 5 in the evening. When she woke up, Mo Qishan had bought some box meals back. Yang, now that you're awake, we can have dinner. Emitting. Enai Yang nodded. I'll go wash my face first. It was nearing evening, and the lights in the train's aisles were dim. When Enai Yang arrived at the lavatory, she bumped into a little girl. The girl's father, who was following behind, immediately apologized. I'm sorry, comrade. Mimi, quickly apologize to your sister. Chapter 310. Righteous Yang, Mystery Boss Confession _1. The little girl, wearing a white shirt and denim overalls, with red little leather shoes and 2 small braids, was quite eye-catching. Her large watery eyes were absolutely beautiful. Upon hearing this, she immediately bent over to apologize. I'm sorry, sister. I didn't mean to. Enai Yang bent down to pat the little girl's head, laughing as she said, It's all right. The father and daughter left the aisle and Enai Yang turned into the restroom. The little girl whispered softly, Dad, that lady just now was so pretty. Even prettier than Mom. Shush. The man made a quiet gesture. Mimi, lower your voice. Be careful not to let your mother hear. The little girl quickly covered her mouth in response. The father and daughter moved towards the sleeping car. As they passed a tall, slender woman, her originally tired expression instantly brightened up. Adorable. This little girl was just so adorable. Not just adorable but pretty as well. The tall, slender woman reconsidered her path and headed into the compartment. Inside the compartment, various voices of snoring could be heard. The tall, thin woman slapped the sleeping man beside her. Wake up already, there's business to be had. At her words, the man immediately woke up. Where? How old? The tall, thin woman lowered her voice. She seems to be around 4 or 5 years old. We should keep a close eye. There were 3 types of boxed meals on the train. One was 3 cents per serving. Another was 8 cents. The last one was 2 yuan. The one that Mo Qishan bought was 2 yuan, containing fried eggs, braised pork, and braised fish cubes. Even though the meal was rich, perhaps because it was cooked in a large pot, the taste was not very good. Mo Qishan could not eat more than a few bites, but Yang on the opposite side was eating very seriously, every single bite. Not a grain of rice was left. Yang had walked out of hard times. She knew the difficulty of obtaining food, so she held a sublime respect for the food. No matter when, she would not waste it. This feeling might only be understood by those who have experienced hunger. Seeing her like this, Mo Qishan felt a twinge of guilt. He picked up his chopsticks again, finishing the rest of his boxed meal. After undergoing nearly 40 hours on the train, they finally arrived in Guangguan on the noontime of the 3rd day. Guangguan is a coastal city near Hong Kong and our country. Compared to the often bustling mainland, Guangguan had many skyscrapers, fashionable young people, and some even using pagers. At the same time, the temperature in Guangguan was much higher than in Beijing. The current temperature in Beijing was 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, needing a cotton-padded jacket and a coat. But on the streets of Guangguan, people were in short sleeves and jeans, wearing sunglasses as if it were still summer. At this time, the jeans trend had just come over from abroad, so every young person on the street was wearing jeans. Yang knew that the temperature in Guangguan was much higher than in Beijing, so when she got off the train she was particularly wearing just a thin knit sweater. But, unexpectedly, it still felt scorching. Yang. Mo Qishan looked at Yang. Shall we look for a clothing store first? Yang nodded, sure. The two entered a clothing store they found, Yang didn't bother to choose. She randomly grabbed a set of clothes and headed to the changing room. However, when she came out of the changing room, Mo Qishan was dazzled. At this moment, Mo Qishan suddenly remembered a phrase. When a person is good-looking, they'll look good in anything, even a rag. A simple light pink top and a pair of black baggy pants brought out a unique charm on her. The shopkeeper immediately went to meet her. Miss, you look absolutely stunning in this outfit. Usually, shopkeepers say things that are half-truths, but today, she had not uttered a single false word. Throughout her time selling clothes, she had never seen such a beautiful girl. Yang smiled slightly. Thank you, how much is this set? 28 yuan. Yang took out the money and handed it to the shopkeeper. There were many factories in Guangguan, among them plenty produced non-woven fabrics. However, due to the large area of Guangguan, finding manufacturers that produced non-woven fabrics was a bit challenging. Although Yang had memories from her previous life, those memories were of her future experiences, and it was the 1980s now after all. Mo Qishan took out 2 pieces of paper. Yang, these 2 factories can produce non-woven fabric. Which one do you want to visit first? Yang took the paper. Let's go to the nearest one first then. Sure. Mo Qishan nodded. Chapter 311. Yang's Heroic Act, Confession from the Mysterious Boss _2. The two arrived at the factory, where they were greeted by a very enthusiastic middle-aged uncle. The minimum order from our factory is 300 yuan. Then there's the separate cost of the train transport. At this time, parcels could be sent via post, but it was slow, typically taking about a month. Therefore, anyone with urgent items usually relied on the train or freight trucks for transportation. The price wasn't expensive. Na took a facial mask cut from a sheet of white paper out of her bag and asked, "Can you make a non-woven fabric in this shape?" The middle-aged uncle took the paper curiously. "What is this thing? Comrade, what is this used for?" Na smiled lightly. "It's for your face." "For your face?" The middle-aged uncle looked enlightened. "Oh, I see. These are the eyes, this is the nose, and this is the mouth, right?" "Yes." Na nodded slightly. The middle-aged uncle was a very curious person. He put the paper on his face. "Comrade, what effect does this have when it's placed on the face?" Just as Na was about to answer, a person entered the room, and upon seeing the middle-aged uncle looking that way, let out a frightful yell. "Ah! A ghost!" Guangguan people were rather superstitious. As soon as the middle-aged uncle heard the word ghost, his reaction was immediate. "Ah? Where's the ghost?" Upon hearing his reaction, the person breathed a sigh of relief. "Li Ku! It's you. What are you doing with this on your face? You scared me." The middle-aged uncle turned to look at Na. "Comrade, you haven't told me yet, what's the use of this on the face?" Not only was the middle-aged uncle curious, Emochishin was also curious. Na didn't hide anything. She laughed and explained, "I plan to use it to make a skincare product, which after being manufactured, could be adhered to the face for skin maintenance." The concept of a facial mask only reached China in the 1990s, so it was normal for people to not know about it. The middle-aged uncle laughed. "Interesting, this is the first time I've seen such a skincare product." "Oh, Xiaochen, you came just in time. You work in the technical department. Can you check if our non-woven fabric can be made in this shape?" Xiaochen took the paper was in the shape of the mask, and frowned slightly. "We may not be able to make this." The middle-aged uncle looked regretfully at Na. "Comrade, why don't you check another factory?" Na nodded. "I've troubled you." Watching Na and Emochishin disappear through the door, the middle-aged uncle turned to Xiaochen. "With your technical department skills, you all can't make something as simple as this shape?" Xiaochen replied, "It's not that we can't make it, it's just slightly more complex in terms of the process. We need to recast to make a new model. If there's a big order, it's okay, but for small orders, we can hardly make any money because we can only break even. Factories prioritize profits. No one would generate power out of love for no reason." Na only ordered a few hundreds worth, which was not even enough for the recasting cost. The middle-aged uncle nodded. As Na and Emochishin walked out the door, they brushed past a man with a look of urgency on his face. He seemed a little familiar, but by the time Na looked back, the man had already disappeared around the corner. The two visited 3 factories in one afternoon, and all 3 factories said they couldn't do it. Na brow furrowed slightly. This result was too different from what she had imagined. Emochishin comforted her. Yang, don't worry. Guangguan has many factories, and it's the birthplace of skincare products. We are sure to find a factory that can make facial masks." Na nodded. "It's getting late. Shall we go eat something?" "Sure," Emochishin said. "I know there's a street with lots of food nearby. Shall we eat there?" "Okay." The food street was located in the center of Guangguan. Plastic cloth covered the large sheds overhead, illuminated by hanging lights. Many street food stalls had long lines. Noodles 50 cents a bowl. Dumplings 30 cents for a large bowl. Seafood fried noodles, teppanyaki squid. Pot stickers. The cries of the vendors and the alluring scent of food filled their ears and noses. Na looked at this dish, then at that one, unsure of what to eat. Emochishin suggested, "Guangguan is a coastal city, and seafood is their specialty product. Why don't we eat seafood?" Chapter 312. Righteous Yang Mystery Boss Confession _3. In fact, Emochishin wanted to take Na to a fancy restaurant, but he was afraid that she would feel distance because of it. He wanted to get closer to Na. As it turned out, compared to fancy restaurants, Na preferred this place. "Great, I want teppanyaki squid." Teppanyaki squid is a common street snack in later times. and I Young didn't expect that it was already available here in Guangguan during the 1980s. The two of them sat at a seafood stall, and besides teppanyaki squid, they ordered other seafood dishes. It was essential to accompany seafood with beer. At this time, Yanjing beer was the most popular. Actually, beer was already available as early as 1914. By the 1980s, it was everywhere, not just in thriving cities like Guangguan, but also in rural areas. And I Young turned to look at Mo Qishan. Brother Mo, do you want some beer? Mo Qishan raised his eyebrows in surprise. You drink? He had assumed that a beautiful girl like I Young would abstain from alcohol. I Young smiled. What, do I look like someone who doesn't drink? Not only did she drink, but she could also hold her liquor very well. No one achieves success easily. In her previous life, I Young, as NIS director, honed her drinking skills through banquets and social events, once setting a record of downing 2 pounds of liquor at once. However, that was in her past life. In this life, for her health, I Young hadn't touched alcohol since she was reborn. Mo Qishan spoke with a smile. Shall we get 2 bottles then? Soon, the boss brought over 2 bottles of beer. Just as Mo Qishan was about to open the beer, he realized he didn't see any opener. Boss, could I get a bottle opener please? Before he could finish speaking, a hissing sound of open beer came from across him, followed by I Young spitting out the beer cap from her mouth. In that instant, Mo Qishan saw his future standing in the household. Good heavens! That was a bit too bold. This slightly audacious action, when done by I Young, had an inexplicable charm about it. From biting the bottle cap to spitting it out, everything was done swiftly and fluidly. Mo Qishan had seen countless refined ladies from prestigious families, but he had never seen a girl as casual as I Young. She was clear-headed and genuine in her way of living. It seemed like nothing could hold her down. She was like a mysterious and tranquil orchid blooming in a valley. Brother Mo here. I Young handed Mo Qishan the beer she had just opened. At this moment, the boss brought the bottle opener, and upon seeing the scene he joked. This young girl is really something. I Young modestly responded. It's nothing much. Both of them were drinking beer and eating seafood, and in a while, they had almost finished their meal. I Young had her arms crossed, and was leaning against the back of the chair. She didn't feel like moving at all. It had been such a tiring day. Just then, she felt something lightly poke into the middle of her hand. I Young looked back, and saw what seemed like a family of 3 sitting at the next table. The man was big and tall, the woman was skinny and dark, and both of them dressed humbly. The 3 of them had only 1 dish and a soup on their table, and the man and woman were speaking in a dialect others couldn't understand. The little girl was wearing a semi-worn blue ant-colored coat, and a pair of ragged pants. Even though she had a dirty little face, her features were beautiful, with a pair of big teary eyes that looked familiar. The little girl was sitting to I Young's right, so it must have been her who teased I Young earlier. I Young nonchalantly steadied her vision again, and pulled out the paper from her hand. Upon seeing it, she realized it was a small note. The note barely had anything written on it. All it had were 3 Arabic numbers, 995. I Young furrowed her brows slightly. Given the way 995 sounds, it might signify help me. Was the little girl asking for help? At this moment, I Young suddenly recalled that the little girl was none other than Mimi, the one she had accidentally bumped into on the train earlier. Even though her clothing differed, I Young hadn't forgotten her unique pair of eyes. Could Mimi have encountered human traffickers? Actually, human trafficking wasn't uncommon in the 1980s. The traffickers would lure women, kidnap children, sell them off, or even mutilate them to force them into begging. With no surveillance at that time and people being less security conscious, the victims targeted by the traffickers were easy to nab. Chapter 313. Righteous Yang Yang, Mystery Boss Confession _4. She could not help but recall her own past lives' experiences. If she were caught by human traffickers again, what awaited her would be similar to the torment of marrying a eunuch in her previous life, or even worse. This thought made I Yang's heart tighten brutally. Brother Mo. I Yang looked up at Mo Qishan. Mo Qishan looked up puzzlingly. Luckily, I Yang always carried a pen with her. She wrote a sentence on a slip of paper and handed it to Emochishan. Emochishan read the note, his gaze flickering. He held Anai Yang's hand to signal her not to act rashly. Human traffickers usually worked in groups and had an organized hierarchy. They couldn't simply be one or two people acting alone. There might even be their accomplices nearby. If they acted rashly, it could backfire. At this moment, the couple sitting behind them had finished paying their bill and were about to leave with the little girl. Anai Yang suddenly stood up, took the little girl's hand, and exclaimed in surprise, "Mimi! Isn't this Mimi?" The sequence of events happened too fast, leaving the little girl bewildered. Anai Yang continued, "This silly girl am your aunt. Don't you recognize your aunt and your uncle? Who are these two? Are they the nannies hired by your mother and father?" The tall and skinny woman yanked the girl back and retorted angrily, "Who are you? Have you mistaken us for someone else? Who's this Mimi you're talking about? This is my daughter Yai. When did my niece become your daughter?" Anai Yang's face changed. She scooped up the little girl and retorted, "Are you a human trafficker?" The little girl clung tightly to Anai Yang's neck, fearing she would be snatched away by the tall and lean woman any moment. The commotion attracted some attention. The diners put down their chopsticks and crowded around. The skinny woman shrieked hysterically, "This is my daughter Yaya. From a young age, she has been mute and even has some IQ issues. You claim to be her aunt, so let her call you aunt and well see. Thief playing a cop. I say you're the real human trafficker. Somebody help. She's trying to kidnap my daughter." Every human trafficker retains a poker face and excels in bluffing. As long as they can convince the crowd, things will work out for them. After all, the child isn't able to speak, and the person abducting her from them is Anai Yang. The one holding disparities will forever hold the advantage. That child really can't speak. Tsk, such a beautiful girl, turns out to be a human trafficker. That's terrible. She even dares to kidnap children in broad daylight. Seeing the crowd being swayed, a burly man rolled up his sleeves. Brandishing a kitchen knife, he rushed forward aggressively. "Damn human traffickers, how dare you try to kidnap my daughter? Watch as I chop you into pieces." Emochishan shielded Anai Yang. With one hand he grabbed the burly man's arm. Simultaneously, he kicked the burly man's knee. The severe pain forced the man to kneel on the ground. This is outrageous. How dare these human traffickers assault people in public? Is there no law and order left? Onlookers were extremely angry. Emochishan held the burly man's arm and looked at the crowd. "These two are the real human traffickers. If you don't believe me, we can call the police. My wife and I will stay here until they arrive. I trust the police will give us justice." Real human traffickers would never suggest calling the police. A considerate bystander promptly rushed to report the incident. "I'm going to the police station now. Keep an eye on these two traffickers." "Young man, you can take my bike." Seeing the situation turn against them, the tall and thin woman tried to sneak away. However, as she turned to leave, a hand detained her. A gentle voice came from above her. "Feeling guilty?" Anai Yang was beautiful, especially her delicate peach blossom eyes. On any normal day, the tall thin woman would surely be captivated by Anai Yang's allure. Such a catch was not easy to come by. But today, all she felt was endless fear. The police arrived promptly, and as victims and suspects, the group was taken to the police station. The little girl clung to Anai Yang's neck unwillingly to let go. After a doctor's diagnosis, it was found that the human traffickers had administered a large amount of forbidden drugs to the girl, causing her to lose her speech. Chapter 314. Righteous Yang Mystery Boss Confession _5. Besides that, the little girl had many fresh bruises on her body. The female doctor who was in charge of examining the little girl couldn't help but tear up. "This is so horrible. These human traffickers are so dreadful. Little girl, does it hurt?" The little girl bravely shook her head. Upon interrogation, the two human traffickers quickly confessed to their crimes. The little girl's parents also rushed over upon hearing the news. Mimi, are you all right?" The couple bumbled into the room, utterly disheveled. Only those who have almost lost their child could truly understand the pain they felt. The little girl shook her head, her eyes brimming with sudden tears. Why did you take so long to come? Weren't you supposed to pick me up immediately? She had been too frightened earlier, and had been forcing herself not to cry. Seeing her parents now was the only time she felt safe enough to let go of her control. The young woman took the little girl into her arms. I'm sorry, Mimi, Mommy and Daddy are so sorry. The police officer at the scene said, as parents, you have to be more careful next time, especially in crowded places like railway stations. You should always keep your child within arm's reach. Now you must sincerely thank these two people. If it wasn't for their courageous actions, you probably wouldn't be able to see your child now. Thank you both. The couple exchanged a glance and immediately knelt down in front of Enai Yang and Mo Chishan with their child. Thank you. Enai Yang and Mo Chishan quickly helped the couple up. You don't need to do this. It was Mimi who was quick on her feet and clever enough to give us a note for help. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have realized something was wrong. Just then, the young man suddenly said, Aren't you the young man we met on the train? Enai Yang nodded. Yes, it's me. Thank you so much for your help. The young man continued. My name is Han Shulin, this is my wife Lin Xiaoxue, and this is our daughter Han Mimi. The five of them left the police station, chatting among themselves. Lin Xiaoxue said, Young man, judging from your accents, I'm guessing you're not from Guangguan, right? Enai Yang nodded. We came from Beijing. Lin Xiaoxue continued. You came all the way from Beijing. Are you planning to stay and develop here, or are you just visiting? Enai Yang said. We came here for some business. Lin Xiaoxue, being a warm-hearted person, and considering that Enai Yang and Mo Chishan had saved her daughter's life, immediately said, Business. Have you successfully handled your affairs? If you don't mind, you can tell us about it. Maybe we can help a little. Han Shulin echoed. That's right. You're newcomers to Guangguan, and we've been living here for decades. We know many people and can certainly handle matters more conveniently than you. No matter what it is, locals can always manage it more conveniently than outsiders. Enai Yang, therefore, didn't hide anything and briefly explained the situation to the couple. After listening to it, Han Shulin smiled and said, Rest assured, this little matter, I've got it covered. Enai Yang looked at Han Shulin in surprise. Lin Xiaoxue explained, My husband is the manager of the non-woven fabric factory on Liufu Road. As a non-woven fabric factory manager, this matter would indeed be trivial for him. This was indeed a case of good actions are rewarded. So the next day, Enai Yang and Mo Chishan met again with the middle-aged man surnamed Li. This time when they met, the middle-aged man was even more enthusiastic than before. Come in and have a seat. If you had told me earlier that you knew Manager Han, none of this would have happened. Enai Yang smiled lightly and sat down with Mo Chishan. Enai Yang knew very well that the reason no factory was willing to take on the job before was because the quantity of face masks she ordered was small. The cost of the non-woven fabric was low, and only a small amount was needed for each face mask. A few hundred yuan would be enough to make several thousand masks. With a small quantity, the profit was small. But the time spent on the initial setup was significant, which was why no factory was willing to accept the order. But Enai Yang was confident that neither the factory nor Han Shulin would regret taking this order. Because once the face mask gained popularity, the sales would not be as simple as just a few thousand. After a successful contract signing, Enai Yang and Mo Chishan bought tickets for the 7 p.m. train that evening. Chapter 315. Righteous Yang Yang, Mystery Boss Confession _6. With half a day left, Enai Yang wanted to stroll around the streets and pick up some local specialties to take back home. Water chestnut cake and pineapple cake were specialties of Guangguan. There were also many fruits not available in Beijing, such as durian, dragon fruit, and wax apples. Enai Yang bought a bit of each, as well as a giant durian. Durian was known to have a really strong smell, but the taste was genuinely good. Seeing Enai Yang buying so much, Mo Chishan also bought a lot of things. That night, Han Shulin and Lin Xiaoxue, holding their daughter Mimi, came to the train station to see them off. Enai Yang and Mo Chishan waved goodbye to the family of three. Brother Han, sister-in-law Han, you must come to Beijing to play when you get the chance. Sure, We will certainly disturb you when we do. Goodbye, Sister Yang Yang. Goodbye, Mimi. By the time they returned to Beijing, it was a little after 8 at night. The temperature in Beijing was more than 20 degrees lower than Guangguan. As soon as they got off the train, Anna Yang wrapped herself tightly in her down jacket. Though they were walking side by side on the street, not talking, the atmosphere was not awkward at all. The night always seemed to make people more impulsive. Mo Qishan found his heart fluttering like a scared deer as he looked at Anna Yang's profile. They seemed to have grown closer during this Guangguan trip, but also not at all. He felt he couldn't wait any longer. If he continued to wait, what if someone else beat him to it? Engrossed in his thoughts, Mo Qishan didn't notice the stone on the road and stumbled, almost falling over. Be careful, brother Mo. Anna Yang quickly reached out to steady him. Thank you, Yang Yang. The dim light of night hit Mo Qishan's blush. They slowly walked and quickly arrived at the noodle restaurant. Anna Yang opened the door and wheeled her bicycle out. Yang Yang. Mo Qishan softly called out, his voice resonating clearly in the quiet night. Anna Yang looked up, her bright eyes sparkling in the dark. Yang Yang, I. Mo Qishan's palms started to sweat. The usually articulate Mo Qishan suddenly found himself at a loss for words. What is it? Anna Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. I. Mo Qishan found that he wasn't just at a loss for words, he was also stuttering. Brother Mo, don't be nervous. I won't bite. What are you afraid of? Anna Yang chuckled, her dimples showing, as she slowly approached Mo Qishan. Mo Qishan stepped backward, tension mounting, until he was pressed against a sturdy wall. This situation was a common scene in the arrogant CEO's TV dramas. Anna Yang didn't expect it to happen to her that day. And it was her who had cornered Mo Qishan. Wasn't Mo Qishan's reaction too cute? Looking at his reaction, he wasn't like a 28-year-old man at all, but rather like an 18-year-old naive boy. Did she just get herself a treasure? Yang. Mo Qishan suddenly found it hard to meet Anna Yang's gaze. He was so nervous. What should he do? What if he couldn't breathe? At this moment, Mo Qishan's usual calm, self-composed demeanor seemed to have completely vanished. Anna Yang looked at him with a smile. Brother Mo, if you have something to say, just say it. Hesitating is not a man's style. Right. He was a man. Mo Qishan gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, and stood his ground. It was time to be brave and take a leap. Yang, he said, his voice lowering. Like you. At that moment, even Anna Yang could hear her own heartbeat. She couldn't resist teasing him. Brother Mo, I didn't hear what you said. Mo Qishan was so nervous he didn't dare say it a second time. Anna Yang frowned slightly. Brother Mo, did you just say you hate me? No. Mo Qishan turned white with anxiety. Yang, you heard wrong. How could I hate you? Then what did you say just now? He had already said it once, so why couldn't he say it again? Worst comes to worst, he could take another hit. Mo Qishan took a deep breath and loudly said, Yang, I like you. I want you to be my girlfriend. After saying this, Mo Qishan watched Anna Yang intently. He had never been so nervous in his life. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. If cold stones could be warmed, what about human hearts? Moreover, Anna Yang's heart wasn't made of stone. She was very sure that she also liked Mo Qishan. Perhaps she had fallen for him at first sight when they met by the river. Perhaps she was moved by Mo Qishan's continuous companionship over time. Plus, Mo Qishan was so handsome. If they did become a couple, she definitely wouldn't lose out. Brother Mo, Anna Yang looked up at Mo Qishan. I think I kind of like you too. For a moment, Mo Qishan thought he was hallucinating, but then he picked Anna Yang up and began turning in circles joyously. If he had wings, he felt he would fly all the way up to the clouds. Sweetheart, I really like you. Anna Yang responded flatly. Put me down, I just said I kind of like you. How did I become your sweetheart all of a sudden? This man was really quite shameless. Mo Qishan held Anna Yang tightly and wouldn't let go. The great literature master from Y Country, Shakespeare, once said, dating without the intention of marriage is fooling around. So, if you're not my sweetheart, whose sweetheart could you be? Are you trying to fool around with me? Anna Yang patted his face with her hand. Could you get a hold of yourself, please? I just said I like you. Not that I want to be in a relationship with you. Right now, you're still being audited. Whether you could pass depends on your performance. Chishin shamelessly remarked, Sweetheart, your hand smells so good. And Yang, she had to stop, he was simply not getting it. Chishin tightened his hold, then asked, Sweetheart, so what do I need to do to pass? Depends on your performance. Chishin immediately responded, Sweetheart, don't worry, I'll surely perform very well. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. If you say go east, I'll never go west. I'll go wherever you point. Nothing will stop me, not even climbing a mountain of knives or plunging into a sea of flames. Then put me down first. Chishin hesitated a bit, but then finally let go. Yang teasingly raised her eyebrows. Brother Mo, this isn't your first time dating, is it? Chishin nodded. It's the first and also the last. Sweetheart, from now on, all my first times will be yours. The first time he fell in love at first sight. The first time he liked someone. The first time he was so desperate to marry someone and cherish her as his treasure for the rest of his life. Before meeting Yang, Chishin didn't even know what it meant to like someone. Chapter 316. I always listen to my wife. Personally unmasking you _1 Yan stared at him. Don't call me wifey. Chishin scratched his head. Then what should I call you? Lady? Darling? Beloved? Wife? These don't seem to sound as nice as wifey, right? Yan interrupted his imagination. Call me whatever you used to. Okay, wifey. Chishin quickly nodded. I will listen to wifey. Yan. Chishin then said, Wifey, when can I officially become your other half? Yan replied indifferently, Once you've changed how you address me, I'll consider it. Hearing this, Chishin didn't dare to tease her anymore. Yang, can I officially become your other half now? Yan replied with a smile, I can consider it now. Chishin. Women's mouths can't trust a word they say. Chishin sneakily reached for Yan's hand. Yang, can I hold your hand? Yan squeezed his hand. Aren't you holding it now? Chishin curled his lips in satisfaction. A smile of pure contentment on his face. So happy. So content. With their hands locked together, they walked leisurely on the desolate streets, the frosty moonlight casting a silvery glow on them. Both of them without any romantic experience, strolled hand in hand from one end of the street to the other. They made a trip up and down the normally 1-hour-long street, as though it only took moments. Time seems to fly when one is with the person they love. Once they reached the noodle restaurant again, Yan stopped. Brother Mo, it's late. You should head home now. Chishin reluctantly halted. He still hadn't had enough of holding his wifey's hand. He wished he could stay glued to his wifey all the time. Yan smiled. Please hurry back. Remember what you promised me earlier. Reminded of his earlier promise, Chishin reluctantly let go of Yan's hand. Yang, should I walk you home? Yan said, It's nearly 11 now. If you walk me home, you'll be really late. Besides, I rode here myself. Go on home, I'll be fine. Yan is not a person of pretensions. In the middle of the night, she didn't want to trouble Chishin. Chishin pushed the bike. Let me take you home. I don't have anything planned for tomorrow morning. And it's not safe for a girl to be out alone at this hour. Seeing Chishin insist, Yan gave in. She leaned in and sat on the back seat. Brother Mo, let's go. Chishin held the bike, not moving. Yan asked doubtfully, Brother Mo, aren't we going? Chishin responded, Yang, come sit in front. The Phoenix brand bike from the 80s has a large rack in the front that can accommodate a person. But because sitting at the front requires a somewhat intimate position, typically only couples adopt this seating. Before they were in a relationship, Chishin was too shy to let Yan sit in front, but things were different now. Yan was also sitting on a bike rack for the first time. She was surrounded by a masculine aura, with warm breath whispering around her neck. This felt wonderful, leading to a faint blush creeping up her ears. Although the girl in front is already his wifey, Chishin was still nervous. Thankfully, it was winter, and they were both bundled up. Otherwise, Anayan would definitely have noticed his discomfort. Emochishan tightly gripped the bike's handle, his sturdy arms enveloping Anayan. His steady heartbeat echoed from behind, providing a sense of absolute security. Anayan's hair fluttered onto Emochishan's face in the breeze. It was soft and silky like prime satin. A faint, fragrant scent wrapped around his nose. The hazy night enveloped them as Emochishan leaned forward slightly, all but surrounding her. To enjoy their time together more, Emochishan deliberately slowed down. However, they soon arrived at Jinghua village. Emochishan was slightly annoyed. Why did the time pass so quickly tonight? Anayan jumped from the bike. Brother Emo, you should go home now. I'll help you push the bike into the courtyard. Anayan laughed. Take the bike and ride home. From the city to Jinghua village is more than 10 kilometers. She can't possibly let Emochishan walk home. Emochishan responded. If I ride home, how will you get to the city tomorrow morning? I can take the tram. Chapter 317. I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you _2. Emochishan's thoughts took a turn. I'll pick you up tomorrow at my place. Anayang nodded and picked up her gift from the car. That works, take care on the road, brother Emo. All right, Emochishan replied. He watched Anayang walk into the yard and close the door. Only then did he turn the car around and drive back. At this moment, he could no longer hide the elation in his heart. He quickly stepped on the pedal, his feet moving like they were under motor power, almost making the car fly. He felt so happy, so excited. At that moment, Emochishan felt an insurmountable energy. Even if there were mountains ahead, he could move them. Ah! So happy. Emochishan even let go of the handlebars, opened his arms wide, and made a flying motion. He was as excited as a child. It was a good thing that he was on an empty street. Otherwise, with such a noise, he would have been scolded by others. Only with the cover of late night, Emochishan dared to act so wildly. Emochishan shouted several times, unable to satisfy his excitement. He even had body movements. He was like a crazy drunkard with no formality to speak of. Not far away, a luxury car was parked. There were 2 people seated in the front row. These 2 were none other than Morris and Marcus. Morris looked at his watch, puzzled, and asked, Marcus, did you get the time wrong? Is Mr. Mogg really coming back today? Marcus replied, Mr. Mogg called yesterday afternoon and told me he'd be back tonight. How could I hear it wrong? Just then Morris, who was in the driver's seat, suddenly sat upright, pointed at something to Marcus, and said with some horror, Is that Mr. Mogg over there? Marcus looked forward, nonplussed. What a joke! You must be kidding. That man raving on the street in the middle of the night must have just come from a mental hospital. There Mr. Mogg always maintained a cool demeanor. Even when dealing with contracts with numerous digits, he never showed any change in expression. How could he possibly behave like this? Morris scratched his head. What you said makes some sense. Although from a distance the man looked like Mr. Mogg, his behavior was more like a madman. Mr. Mogg is usually gentle and noble. How could he go crazy like this? However, as the so-called madman got closer and closer, Morris' expression became more and more horrifying. Morris grabbed Marcus' sleeve again. That's Mr. Mogg. What could have happened to Mr. Mogg on his trip to make him behave like this? Now even Marcus was dumbfounded. Could he take back what he just said? Realizing that this madman was indeed Emochishan, they both got out of the car. At the same time, Emochishan noticed a familiar license plate. He instantly put away his silly smile, and maintained a cold and restrained demeanor again, going back to his original appearance. Marcus. Stop pretending we saw everything. Mr. Mogg, greeted Morris and Marcus respectfully. Emochishan vomited 3 words, a mysterious shadow covering him in the moonlight. Back to the manor. Yes. Marcus immediately took his bike. Emochishan leaned back into the car, Marcus pedaling after the luxury car. As he pedaled, Marcus noticed that something was off. Under the moonlight, Marcus realized this wasn't his boss car at all. On this side, Anayang had just opened the door to the yard when the lights inside came on. The dim light lit up the small path in the yard. Anayang felt warmth in her heart as she saw Anai Tsuehua. who had put on a coat, come out from inside. Yang Yang. Mom. Yang Yang, come inside quickly. Enai Tsuehua took the suitcase from Enai Yang's hands. Are you hungry? Mom kept some food for you. Mom, how did you know that I would come back tonight? There was no phone at home, and to take a phone call, they had to go to the village. To avoid the hassle for Enai Tsuehua, Enai Yang didn't call home at all. Enai Tsuehua replied, when you left, you said you would come back in about a week, so I thought you should be back by now. When a child goes on a long journey, a mother worries. Ever since the day Enai Yang left, Enai Tsuehua had been counting the days at home, hoping for her return. Every time they ate, she set aside a portion specially for Enai Yang, so that she wouldn't be hungry when she came back. Chapter 318. I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you _3. Being together every day, Enai Yang and her mother Tsuehua didn't think much about it. However, on the day Enai Yang suddenly left, Enai Tsuehua felt out of sorts everywhere. Now that she saw Enai Yang return safely, a big load was finally off Kuihua's shoulders. As the mother and daughter entered the living room, they heard little Enai Yun in the inner room call out sweetly, sis. A 9-month-old baby couldn't talk much yet. The only words she could say were mama and sis. Enai Yang was startled and asked in surprise, Yun isn't asleep yet? Enai Tsuehua replied with a smile. She was still sleeping when I got up, she probably just woke up. Oh, go check on Yun. Enai Yang swiftly made her way into the room. Enai Tsuehua went into the kitchen to serve Enai Yang dinner. In the room, little Enai Yun, wearing her autumn clothes, had already crawled over the blanket. Seeing Enai Yang come in, she laughed happily, sis. Little Yun, did you miss sis? Enai Yang picked up little Enai Yun. Little Enai Yun couldn't talk yet, she just shouted excitedly, sis. Sis. Enai Yang gave little Enai Yun's small face a big kiss. The temperature was low at night, Enai Yang was afraid that little Enai Yun would get cold, so she quickly put her back under the blanket. Yun can't crawl outside the blanket, otherwise sis will spank. Little Enai Yun held Enai Yang's hand, babbling away, who knows what she was saying. Enai Yang looked at little Enai Yun's side profile, the corner of her mouth revealing a slight smile. In her previous life, she came to the realization too late, and let this little sister fall into the jaws of a wolf. This time, she'll protect her no matter what. And the 3 other sisters who got thrown away, she wondered if they were still amongst the living. For some time, Enai Yang was lost in thought. At that moment, Enai Tsuehua came in with a bowl saying, Yang Yang, stop playing with Yun and eat. Enai Yang nodded, standing up to take the bowl from Kuihua's hands. The bowl was only half filled with rice, but the meat and vegetables were piled high. There were braised pork, crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, roasted chicken leg, and stir-fried mushrooms. Enai Tsuehua said, Yang Yang, Uncle Tinia brought this rooster this morning while he was working. I said I didn't want it, but he insisted on leaving it. Quickly taste the chicken your mom roasted and see if it's good. I roasted it the way you usually do. Enai Yang hurriedly picked up the chicken leg and tasted it. The meat was firm, crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Oil flowed in her mouth with every bite. Delicious. Mom, the chicken you roasted is way better than the one I can do. Tsuehua laughed. You know how to make your mom happy. How can the chicken I roasted be better than yours? Mom, it's really very good. Tsuehua said. If it's good, eat more. There's still some in the pot. I'll get more for you when you're done. Enai Yang was eating and said with food in her mouth, I'll be full after this bowl. I'll eat the rest tomorrow morning. Tsuehua said. You're full already? Look how thin you are. You could be blown away by the wind. You need to eat more. People in the 80s generally idolized being fat. For one, being fat displayed a wealthy household, and 2, the older generation saw fat as a representation of good fortune. There's a compliment for people that goes like this. Look at that girl, she's so fortunate. The deeper the fortune, the fatter one is. Fat girls were very popular. By the time dinner was done, it was already past midnight. After a quick hot shower, Enai Yang went straight to bed. She slept well throughout the night. The next morning, after Enai Yang got ready and opened the courtyard door, She saw Emo-chishin waiting for her on his bike. "Brother Emo, why are you here so early?" "I just got here too." Emo-chishin touched his nose. "Shall we go now?" In fact, Emo-chishin was so excited the night before that he couldn't sleep. As soon as dawn broke, he came here. He just didn't knock on the door. And Aiyang said, "You must not have eaten breakfast this early, right? I made pan-fried dumplings this morning. I'll get you some." After saying this, Aiyang turned around to head to the kitchen. Soon, she came back with a food box in hand. The pan-fried dumplings were filled with sour radish and pork. It was appetizing and refreshing, with the taste of pork bursting in every bite. They were delicious. Emo-chishin ate more than 10 dumplings in one go. "Yang, your dumplings are so good. I've never had such good dumplings." Aiyang raised an eyebrow slightly. "My mom made these." Emo-chishin. "Then our mom is really skilled." Chapter 319. I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you _4. Aiyang stuffed the last dumpling into his mouth. Enough chit-chat. After finishing the dumplings, Aiyang returned the lunchbox, got into the car, and went to the city with Emo-chishin. Emo-chishin, with one hand on the steering wheel and the other secretly slipped around Aiyang's waist, rested his chin on her shoulder, and gently sniffed the fragrance of her hair. The usually noisy bird chirps now seemed pleasant to his ears. Aiyang did not reject such affection and laughed. "Brother Emo, can you ride the car properly? Can you do it with one hand?" Men hate being questioned if they could or not. Emo-chishin immediately let go of his other hand. "Even if I don't hold it with both hands, I can still control the direction well. Yang, look how awesome am I?" Aiyang nodded in agreement. Awesome, you are way too awesome." Emo-chishin looked at Aiyang's side profile, as white as jade, and had a sudden urge to kiss her. But while he had the intent, he lacked the courage. Emo-chishin suppressed the urge in his heart. The car was neither too fast nor too slow, and soon arrived on the bustling street. A jeep raced past them. The man driving the jeep had an icy expression on his face. Emo-baichuan pursed his lips, his eyes filled with stormy rage. The next corner. Screech. The sharp sound of a sudden brake rang out, and Emo-baichuan pounded the steering wheel fiercely with his fists. A few seconds later, his face began to soften gradually. No, he couldn't. If he got angry, wouldn't he fall into Aiyang's trap? He must stay calm and expose the mask on Aiyang's face himself. Several minutes later, Emo-baichuan restarted the engine and drove away. When Aiyang and Emo-baichuan arrived at the noodle restaurant and milk tea shop, the other 6 people had already gathered. It had been a few days and everyone was missing Aiyang dearly. Of course, Aiyang didn't come empty-handed. Aiyang distributed a bit of water chestnut cake and pineapple cake she brought back from Guangguan to everyone. At this time, pastries were a desirable thing. Ordinary families would only buy some during the new year. Yang, you're too kind. You thought of bringing gifts for us all the way back from Guangguan. Yang, was Guangguan fun? How different is it from here? Aiyang explained with a smile. Actually, there isn't much difference, just that the temperature is a bit higher than here. They are already wearing short sleeves in Guangguan. People of this era who generally lacked education and were not familiar with latitude and temperature difference found Aiyang's words astonishing. Really? Really? Aiyang nodded and explained the temperature difference to them. She spoke confidently, her conversation peppered with professional terms and concepts, and even some professional explanations were not as accurate as hers. Watching her on the side, Emo-chishin's gaze gradually grew fascinated. How incredibly competent is his wife? It didn't take long for 6 o'clock to come around, and the noodle restaurant and milk tea shop opened for business right on time. Emo-chishin helped Aiyang around the shop. The way the two interacted was the same as usual, but also a bit different. Anyone with a discerning eye could sense the subtle changes between the two. The 6 people in the shop obviously had an inkling. During lunch break, Aiyang sat at the dining table, sipped her milk tea and asked, "Brother Emo, can you contact your good friend Wu Daming now?" "Yes," Emo-chishin nodded. Yang, do you need something from him? Isn't he dealing with imported machinery? I want to ask him if he can get sterile equipment." and Na Yang wanted to expand her skincare products, and for that, she needed to set up a sterile production room for machine integration, where each skincare product would be produced. The current small-scale operation is definitely not enough. Mo Chishan responded. Okay, I'll ask him for you later. Thank you, Brother Mo. Why are you being formal with me? By the way, I have to take a long trip tomorrow and it might take a while before I can return. If there is sterile equipment available, I'll have Wu Daming deliver it directly. And Na Yang nodded. Actually, I'm not in a hurry. It will take a while for the house to be built. Mo Chishan suddenly voiced his grievances. Yang, don't you want to ask where I'm going and when I'll be back? And Na Yang patted him on the head like patting a big dog. So, where are you going? When will you be back? Chapter 320. I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you _5. I need to go to F country. The specific return time is not yet fixed, but I promise to return as soon as possible, so as not to worry you. Initially, Mo Chishan planned to visit F country before going to Guangguan, but he cancelled the trip to accompany Na Yang to Guangguan. Unexpectedly, after returning, he still had to take a trip to F country. With such an outstanding wife, he couldn't afford to remain stationary. He had to strive for a more brilliant future for his wife, ensuring that she wouldn't be undermined anywhere she went. Since he was departing for F country tomorrow, Mo Chishan spent the whole day with Na Yang. It was not until past 6 in the evening, at Na Yang's insistence, that he reluctantly left the noodle restaurant. After the noodle restaurant closed, Na Yang took a trip to the vegetable market. Miss, would you like to buy some flowers? Na Yang turned her gaze to meet a pair of lively eyes. It was a girl of about 10 years old with beautiful eyes. Regrettably, there was a deep scar on her left face that disrupted her overall beauty. She wore a patchy flowery cotton jacket of blue and red. Her hair was all over the place, and her small face was dirty. In her hand, she held a large bunch of red camellia flowers. Big sister, could you buy a flower, please? The girl timidly tugged at Na Yang's coat, her eyes pleading. Before Na Yang could react, the owner of the braised pork shop came out looking stern and chased the girl away. Scram! Off you go! The girl, seeing the shopkeeper, immediately took off running. The owner of the braised pork shop was well acquainted with Na Yang and turned to her. Yang, don't be fooled by this little rascal. This child is a well-known con artist around here, pretending to be pitiful and deceiving people. Her parents are deadbeats, and she's just like them. Not a decent one among them. Don't let her outward appearance deceive you. Her family is actually quite well off. They eat well, drink well, and still scam people everywhere. Hearing this, some people nearby chimed in. Yes, I've been duped by her as well. I was also conned by her. This kind of scam, exploiting children, is quite common in later generations. Na Yang listened without much thought. After buying some vegetables, she started pushing her cart away. At this moment, someone tugged at her coat again. When Na Yang looked back, it was the same girl. Big sister, could you please buy a flower? The girl lifted up the flowers, looking at Na Yang with a face full of longing. Na Yang leaned over slightly. Where are your parents, little girl? Possibly aware of what people in the market had said to Na Yang, the girl quickly explained. Big sister, I'm not a scammer. Today, I haven't sold a single flower. If I go home like this, my parents will surely beat me to death. Could you please buy a flower? By the end of her pleas, she was sounding close to tears. How much is one flower? 1 cent. At this time, vegetables were selling for 3 cents per jean, half a kilogram, yet an ordinary camellia flower was priced at 1 cent each. Only a fool would buy it. The girl had sized up Na Yang as someone kind-hearted and good-looking, so she dared to ask for a high price. Na Yang looked at her, and even though she knew the girl was a swindler, she couldn't harden her heart to refuse. Little girl, how many flowers do you have here? I'll take them all. Really? The girl's eyes lit up. Na Yang nodded. The girl counted the flowers in her hand, then said, Big sister, I have exactly 21 flowers. Are you really going to buy them all? Yes. Na Yang took out 2 1-cent coins and handed them to the girl. The girl hesitated for a moment. Her gaze falling on the bag hanging from the cart handle, She swallowed. Big sister, I'll take your 2 cents, but could I trade the remaining 1 cent for a pancake? And Yang removed the bag. You can have all of these and the money as well. Thank you, big sister. The girl took the bag, bowed towards Yang. May you have peace all your life. After saying this, she turned and ran off into the alley. The fact that the girl knew to bow and give thanks indicated that she was not inherently bad. And Yang wondered what kind of parents she had as she watched the girl's retreating figure, her eyes narrowing slightly. Once the girl was back in the alley, she took out a pancake and started eating ravenously. In less than a minute, she had finished one pancake. Though her stomach was barely half full, she couldn't bear to eat the remaining pancake. Looking around and seeing no one, she walked over to the edge of the alley. She took a brick from the wall and cautiously hid the pancake and a 5-cent coin inside the wall. After hiding her precious stash, she carefully put the brick back in place. Chapter 321. I always listen to my wife, personally unmasking you _6. The generous sister had given her 2 yuan today. Normally, she could only manage to save 1 or 2 cents. She would keep the remaining 60 cents to account for when she got back. The little girl was named Qian Zhaodi. The name Zhaodi, as the name suggests, was given because the adults in her family wanted to raise a boy. After safely stashing away the money, Qian Zhaodi dragged her frail steps back home. As she passed a small puddle, she carefully washed her face and thoughtfully, she slurped up some water to rinse her mouth. She couldn't let her parents know that she had snuck a bite. Qian Zhaodi stopped in front of a brick house with a shining light, took a deep breath, and went in. The light inside the house was warm, and you could hear such dialogue. Son, eat more meat. You can grow taller by eating more meat. Meat. Qian Zhaodi couldn't help but lick her lips. She couldn't even remember the last time she had meat. But the little boy in the house protested. I don't want to eat meat. I want to eat chicken legs. I want to eat braised chicken legs. The gentle female voice soothed. Son, Mom didn't buy any chicken today. I'll make you braised chicken tomorrow, okay? Just have one bite today, be a good boy. No. Qian Zhaodi walked into the room. The room fell silent. The little boy at the head of the table glanced at Qian Zhaodi in a threatening manner. This little boy was Qian Zhaodi's younger brother, Qian Wangkai. The woman sitting on Qian Wangkai's left was the mistress of this house, Zhao Xiaoxi. The man sitting to the right of Qian Wangkai was the master of this house, Qian Shengqian. Worthless girl, you're finally back. Where's the money? Zhao Xiaoxi stood up cursing and swearing, reaching out to her. Qian Zhaodi took out the crumpled 60 cents from her pocket and handed them to the woman. The next second, her ears were harshly twisted. You always bring back so little. Confess. Have you, you worthless girl, been squirreling money away? Qian Zhaodi cried out in pain. No. Mom, I haven't. Qian Shengqian swung a duster harshly onto the girl's face and arms, leaving glaring red marks. You worthless piece of trash. If you dare hide money, I'll beat you to death. Beat her to death. Beat this money-wasting good-for-nothing to death. Qian Wangkai clapped joyously on the chair, his eyes flashing with excitement. Qian Zhaodi immediately knelt down. Mom, Dad, I didn't conceal anything. Really, I didn't. Please stop hitting me. Only then did Qian Shengqian and his wife Zhao Xiaoxi stop. Unlucky thing. Come and eat now. Don't let word get out and have people saying we mistreat you and don't let you eat your fill. Zhao Xiaoxi harshly knocked a chipped bowl on the table. The broken bowl contained half a bowl of rice soup, with only a few grains of rice in it, a sharp contrast to the other rich dishes on the table. Qian Zhaodi got up from the ground, trembling hands holding the bowl of rice soup, sipping it in small mouthfuls. This was the life she lived at home. It was also the reason why, even though she was 12 years old, people always thought she was only 7 or 8. Qian Wangkai picked up a piece of meat and held it out to Qian Zhaodi. Money wasting good for nothing. Do you want to eat meat? Qian Zhaodi swallowed. Yes. How could she not? Even in her dreams she wanted to. The next second, Qian Wangkai threw the meat onto the floor. If you want to eat meat, pick it up from the floor with your mouth. Remember not to use your hands. Qian Zhaodi's eyes tightened, but before she could react, her ear was once again violently twisted. You worthless wench. Didn't you hear what your brother said to you? He kindly offered you some meat, and you dare to glare at him. Eat that piece of meat right now, or I'll beat you to death. Although the meat had fallen on the floor, it was still a piece of meat after all. Thank you, little brother, I'll eat it now. Qian Zhaodi placed her bowl on the table, leaned down, and bit into the fatty meat with her mouth. The fat on the meat was cut quite thick, providing a satisfying mouthful. Yet, Qian Zhaodi's eyes were welling up with tears. Being brought up in a family that values males more than females, she could only struggle to survive. But she would not accept her fate. Once she had saved enough money, she would leave this place. What Qian Zhaodi didn't know was that without an introduction letter, she wouldn't even be able to buy a train ticket. Without an introduction letter, even if she did manage to escape, she would likely end up as a vagabond. Haha. Mom, Dad, doesn't she look like a dog? The dog at the Tian's house also eats this way. Just like it. My precious son is so smart. Qian Wangkai scooped up another piece of meat and threw it on the floor, exclaiming in excitement, "Money-losing goods, you bark like a dog. Bark now. Are you deaf?" Woof. With a piece of meat in her mouth, Qian Zhaodi swallowed all her grievances and unwillingness. The laughter in the room grew louder. From a distance, it sounded like a warm and happy family. After Anai returned home, she started to make dinner. She had stayed in Guangguan City for 6 days, so she planned to make a hearty meal that night. Soon, a sumptuous meal of 4 dishes and a soup was served. The braised pork belly wasn't greasy at all. Braised pork belly is a good source of quality protein and fatty acids, providing heme and cysteamine to improve iron absorption, useful for correcting iron deficiency anemia. It also nourishes the bodice-ine and moistens dryness. Therefore, fatty meat is a good thing for women. The shrimp stir-fried with peas was refreshing. The combination of shrimp and peas can help enhance the bust line. Having been out for 6 days, 4 of which were spent on a train eating simple meals, Anai Yang had almost forgotten her bust enhancement plans. Now that she was back home, she had to pick it up again. The spicy and delicious boiled fish. Water-boiled fish not only tastes good but also helps to curb cravings. Anai Yang's water-boiled fish was so delicious that at the end of the meal, Anai Chengui and Anai Tsuehua even used the remaining soup to make a rice soup. Shepherd's purse tofu soup. Shepherd's purse contains a lot of oxalic acid, tartaric acid, malic acid, protein, fat, etc., which can treat red and swollen pain, conjunctivitis, night blindness, glaucoma, etc. Furthermore, the combination of mustard and tofu has the effect of beautifying the eyes and refreshing the body. Eating more shepherd's purse will make your eyes speak. As soon as Anai Yang brought the dishes to the table, Anai Chengui walked in holding his bag. Yang, glad you're back. Since you left, your mother has been waiting for you every day. Anai Yang said with a smile. Anai auntie, we can eat now. Several little white rabbits hopped in behind Anai Chengui. Anai Yang squinted her eyes. These rabbits seem pretty chubby. They have been raised for more than half a year. How could they not be fat? Anai Tsuehua walked in holding a child. Anai Yang stroked her chin. Mom, Anai auntie, would you prefer roasted rabbit or braised rabbit? What? They're planning to eat rabbit? Hearing this, it seemed that the rabbits understood. They got scared and ran out of the room. Chapter 322. The little fangirl visits. Plans to advance _1 initially. Anai Yang had found these 8 small rabbits on the mountain. Now the little rabbits have all become fat rabbits. Moreover, these rabbits are very smart, knowing to take a stroll during the day and return at night. However, they are quite destructive and have nibbled all the green plants and fresh grass around the house to the point where nothing grows anymore. At this moment, the 4 of them sat at the dining table, eating and discussing how to cook the rabbit meat. Why don't we cook spicy rabbit meat? I had it once in Inner Mongolia. The spicy rabbit meat didn't have the slightest gamey taste. Anai Chengui picked up a piece of braised pork belly. Spicy rabbit meat is also good. Anai Yang nodded. Wow. This pork tastes so delicious. After Anai Chengui took a bite of the pork belly, his face was full of astonishment. The meat was tender and melted in the mouth, with layers of fat and lean pork. When you bite into it, you get a burst of juices. It was layered, rich but not greasy, truly heaven on earth, rarely seen in the mortal world. And Young laughed and said, "This is braised pork belly." "Braised pork belly?" And Chingue in surprise. "Is it one of the 4 treasures of Dongpa?" And Young nodded. And Chingue further said, "Young, you are so amazing. You even know how to cook braised pork belly." Had only seen this dish in books before, he didn't expect to taste it today. He felt so lucky. Having a piece of braised pork belly, then a piece of spicy and fragrant boiled fish, followed by a bowl of cleansing and grease-cutting shepherd's purse tofu soup, he felt his life had peaked. Li Xiangxian's dormitory. Ever since she was subtly expelled from the Mo family by old lady Mo, she had been bedridden with a serious illness. During her illness, she had a clear understanding of a lot of things. First, she had lost face in front of old lady Mo and must regain it quickly. It seemed that some plans needed to be expedited. Second, An Yang was a stumbling block in her life, and this stumbling block must be removed. Otherwise, her future life will continue to be overshadowed by An Yang. Li Xianxian had a good memory, and clearly remembered many things from her past life. She took out a notebook and started to write. This time, she had to make everyone look at her with new eyes. The light in the room wasn't very good. Li Xianxian took a piece of clothing and draped it over herself, then got up to open the curtains, letting the warm light in from outside. Just then, the door was pushed open and a short-haired girl walked in. This was Li Xiangxian's roommate, Zhang Yingying. Zhang Yingying was a very kind girl. She had been taking care of Li Xianxian throughout her illness. "Xianxian, I brought dumplings from the cafeteria. Do you want to eat them?" Zhang Yingying offered the lunchbox to Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian didn't look up and said, "Thank you, just put it there, I'll eat it later." "Okay." Zhang Yingying put the lunchbox aside and leaned over curiously. "Xianxian, what are you writing?" Li Xianxian quickly closed the notebook. "Sorry Yingying, I'm writing a piece that I plan to submit to the newspaper agency in a few days, so I can't show it to you right now." Zhang Yingying exclaimed, "Writing? Does that mean we'll have a famous writer in our dorm soon?" Being a writer in this era was a very lofty and remarkable profession which ordinary people could hardly achieve. Li Xianxian modestly smiled. "I wouldn't say a famous writer, I'm just writing casually." Zhang Yingying excitedly grabbed Li Xiangxian's arm. "Xianxian, you are so amazing." Li Xianxian continued, "Don't rush to praise me yet, I'm just trying. It's not certain whether the newspaper agency will publish it." Zhang Yingying said, "With your talent, Xianxian, the newspaper agency will definitely not reject it." Li Xianxian laughed. "I'll take that as a good sign." Zhang Yingying added, "Xianxian, you're not fully recovered yet, you should eat first. Only when you're full can you write better." Li Xianxian nodded. That night, Li Xianxian stayed up all night writing, without any sleep. By the time Zhang Yingying woke up at 8 o'clock, Li Xianxian was still writing at the desk. Zhang Yingying exclaimed, "Xianxian, you didn't sleep all night, did you?" Li Xianxian nodded. Zhang Yingying continued, "Xianxian, this isn't good. You shouldn't neglect your health for writing. Go wash up and sleep now, it's past 8 already." Chapter 323. Little Fangirl Visits. Plan to advance _2. Li Xianxian smiled. "No worries, inspiration is flooding in. Just wait for me to finish writing this piece." Even though Li Xiangxian's memory is excellent, the saying, "the dullest pencil is better than the sharpest memory," still applies to her. She still needs to write down an outline in advance, so she doesn't forget. After the outlines were listed, she started to write each piece one after another. Her works, each one of them, are always stunning. In this life, she is determined to be the most dazzling person, standing shoulder to shoulder with Mo Baichuan. The only pitiful thing was those who deserved to die didn't die. But that's okay, she just needs to hurry up and publish her work in advance. After all, she is an original author. Does she have to worry about someone plagiarizing her work? Zhang Yingying started to wash her face and comb her hair. "Xianxian, take care of your health." Li Xianxian nodded, "I know." And Yang did not go to the city today, but was at home pickling sour cabbage. The sour fish has been selling well recently, and there isn't much pickled cabbage left at home. And Suehua walked out. Yang, teach me your secret technique for pickling cabbage, so I can make it for you in the future. Sure. And Yang nodded and shared her secrets to making pickled cabbage while she was preparing it. And Suehua is a quick learner. She understood after just one demonstration. Sister and Yang, Sister and Yang. Gooden and several other kids excitedly ran into the yard. Gooden, Penghu, Xiaohua. Why are you guys running so fast? And Yang gave them a warm smile. Sister and Yang, there's a lady outside looking for you. She said she is your good friend. This woman. She dresses just like a little princess from a fairy tale. A lady? And Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. What does this lady look like? If she's a girl of their age from the village, Gooden and Penghu would definitely recognize her. If she's not, and Yang hasn't met anyone new recently. For a moment, and Yang really couldn't guess who could be looking for her. Gooden said, Sister and Yang. Why not go out and see for yourself? All right. And Yang untied her apron. Mom, I'm going out for a bit. And Suehua nodded. Sure, you go ahead, leave everything here to me. And Yang then went out with the children. Outside stood a young woman dressed in an imported princess dress, with slightly curly chestnut hair resting on her shoulders. A shiny little crown was on her head, and she was carrying an exquisite little handbag. Her nails were painted with pink nail polish. She really did look like a princess straight out of a fairy tale book. It was Li Yanran. And Yang did give her address to Li Yanran last time, but she didn't expect Li Yanran would actually come. Yang. Li Yanran came running towards Yang and hugged her excitedly. Yanran. And Yang hugged Li Yanran back. Yang, Li Yanran continued. You have no idea how long it took me to find this place. And Yang said with a smile. You could have just called me beforehand. I could pick you up. Our place is indeed hard to find. Li Yanran replied. I didn't want to inconvenience you by having you leave the village to take a call. Even though Li Yanran is a wealthy young lady, she still understands the ways of the world. Moreover, she truly admires and respects Yang, so she chose to visit Yang intentionally. I'll introduce you. Yang went on. This is Gooden, this is Penghu, and this is Xiaohua. You three can just call this beautiful lady Sister Yanran. The three children greeted Li Yanran politely. Hello, Sister Yanran. Li Yanran replied to them with a smile. Hello, you guys. I came here in a hurry, so I didn't have time to bring gifts. Next time, I'll definitely bring some for you. Sister Yang is very beautiful and gentle, and it turns out her good friend is stunning and kind as well. In no time, the three children felt very fond towards Li Yanran. Gooden said shyly, Sister Yanran, you don't have to be so polite. After speaking, Gooden, Penghu and Xiaohua ran off. Watching the children run off, Li Yanran said, They're so cute. And Yang smiled. Yes, they're at an age where they don't have a care in the world. Come in, let's go inside. Li Yanran nodded and followed Yang's steps. They arrived in the yard where Suehua was pickling the sour cabbage. She looked up, stunned by Li Yanran's appearance. My goodness! This young lady was dressed so elegantly. She looked just like a modern lady from the big city posters. Chapter 324. The Little Fangirl Visits, Plans to Advance _3. Yang introduced her. Mom, this is my good friend Li Yanran. Yanran, this is my mom. Li Yanran also gasped in surprise. No wonder Yang is so beautiful. It's all because of the good genes. Li Yanran suppressed her astonishment and politely said, Hello, Auntie. You can just call me Yanran. And Suehua wiped her hands on her apron. Hello, come in and take a seat. It hasn't been long since mother and daughter arrived in Beijing. It's not easy for Yang to have a good friend. Yang brought Li Yanran into the house. Yanran, you sit first. I will make you a cup of tea. Li Yanran quickly stood up. Yang, I can just sit casually. Don't make me feel embarrassed. Yang laughed and said, What's there to be embarrassed? I'll come over with the tea. Yang turned around and went into the small kitchen. Li Yanran sat in the living room looking around. A very simple farmhouse, simple but elegant and cozy. In the living room, there was a dining table and few benches, a baby carriage on the side, and on the cabinet near the window was a jade vase with a magnolia flower in it. Now it's April, not the time for magnolia flowers to bloom. Could they all be fake flowers? Li Yanran walked over curiously and found to her surprise that it wasn't a fake flower but a dried flower. The flower still had a faint fragrance. That's incredible. They managed to preserve the magnolia flower like this. Li Yanran exclaimed in awe. Yanran, come taste the milk tea. Anayang brought a tray from outside. Li Yanran excitedly pointed at the magnolia flower. Yang, where did you buy this magnolia flower? Anayang smiled and said, I didn't buy it, I picked it from our yard last summer. Picked? Li Yanran exclaimed. Then how did you preserve it like this? Anayang explained. First pick the fresh magnolia flower, remove the leaves, then allow it to air dry in a ventilated area, away from sunlight. Finally, use a bunch of herbal medicine to smoke it. Li Yanran nodded. That sounds complicated. Yang, you're amazing. Anayang placed the tray on the table. Yanran, come taste the milk tea. Milk tea? Li Yanran's eyes lit up. She ran to Anayang's side, picked up the milk tea and took a big gulp. This tastes exactly like the New York milk tea. Upon saying this, it dawned on Li Yanran. She exclaimed, New York wouldn't stand for Anayang, would it? Anayang nodded slightly. Smart. Oh my God. Li Yanran was so astonished, she did not know what to say. Turns out New York milk tea is Anayang's. You have to understand, Li Yanran is a loyal fan of New York milk tea. She drinks it almost every day. But she rarely buys it herself. It's usually brought by the servants at home. She thought Anayang was just an ordinary farm girl who cured Mo. Who knew Anayang could be so impressive? No wonder she could confront Li Xianxian that day, making Li Xianxian lose her composure, and be sent home by Madame Mo. Yang, I'm growing more and more in awe of you. Li Yanran's eyes sparkled as she reached for a piece of dried fruit from the tray. Is this strawberry? Yes, it's dried strawberries. Try them and see how they taste. Li Yanran put the dried strawberry in her mouth. It was crispy, not only retaining the sour and sweet taste of strawberries, but also had the taste of dessert, crunching in the mouth, making you want another piece after eating one. Li Yanran, with her mouth full of dried strawberries, mumbled. Yang, did you make this yourself? Yes. Li Yanran felt like kneeling to Anayang. Yang, you're too amazing. Anayang smiled lightly. Well, just the third best in the world. Li Yanran continued. Yang, what machine did you use to make this dried fruit? A drying machine? But there were no food dryers in the country at that time. Anayang said. I baked it in a bread kiln. A bread kiln? Li Yanran asked curiously. What's a bread kiln? Come with me, I'll show you. Yes. Li Yanran excitedly followed Anayang. The two came to the corner of the yard where Anayang pointed at a large object. This is the bread kiln. So this is it. Li Yanran squatted down, touching and observing it with a look of curiosity. Yang, is this bread kiln really that miraculous? Chapter 325. The Little Fangirl Visits, Plans to Advance _4. Li Yanran was born into a wealthy family. When had she ever seen such things? Even the large roosters of the countryside were a first for her. Just now at the entrance of the village, she had been scared by a large rooster. Anayang laughed, saying, Of course there is such magic. A baking oven can roast anything, only limited by what you can't imagine. There's nothing a baking oven can't bake. Li Yanran's eyes turned toward a little rabbit gnawing on a carrot. Can you roast a rabbit? Anayang nodded. Of course, why don't we have roasted rabbit for lunch? Yes. Li Yanran nodded and swallowed. The rabbit nearby thought, why do people always want to eat us nowadays? Then I'll go catch the rabbit now. I'll go with you. Li Yanran followed behind Anayang. Anayang took up 2 carrots, crouched on the ground, attracting all the small rabbits. Taking advantage of the rabbit's distraction, she swiftly grabbed 2 small rabbits. The rest of the rabbits fled in fear. My God, humans are so scary. Li Yanran followed by Anayang's side. Yang, let me hold one. Anayang handed her one of the small rabbits. Li Yanran showed a mischievous grin as she petted the rabbit's fur. The little bunny is so cute. and Ai Yang was worried that her next sentence would be, "Bunny is so cute. Why are you eating the bunny?" Fortunately, Li Yanran was not the type of girl who overflowed with sympathy. After all, every creature has its own rules for survival. And Ai Tsuehua, who had finished pickling sour cabbage, came over from the other side. Yang, are we having rabbit for lunch?" And Ai Yang nodded. "Roast one, braise one." And Ai Tsuehua continued. "Hand them to me, I'll kill them." "All right." And Ai Yang and Li Yanran handed the rabbits in their hands to Ai Tsuehua. And Ai Tsuehua carried a rabbit in one hand, muttered the rabbit-killing song. Little rabbit, don't blame us, you are a meal to us humans, shedding your fur for a cloth coat, returning again in the spring of next year." Li Yanran curiously asked, "Auntie, what song is that?" And Ai Yang laughed and explained, "This is our local chicken-killing song that my mom has adapted into a rabbit-killing song. Back in our hometown, whenever we kill a chicken, we always recite this song." The original text begins, little chicken, don't blame us." This was a unique memory for children of the 1980s. In later generations, this kind of folk rhyme would be forgotten. Li Yanran followed behind, reciting the saying to herself and then burst into laughter. "I must say, it's pretty rhyming." And Ai Yang nodded. Indeed. Before long, Ai Tsuehua had prepared the 2 rabbits. And Ai Yang marinated one of the rabbits with seasonings and placed it in a basin, then went to light the fire for the baking oven. Li Yanran followed Ai Yang's side. Yang, let me try, okay?" "Sure." And Ai Yang handed the match to Li Yanran. Li Yanran, being a wealthy heiress, when had she ever done this before? After trying for a good while, she only managed to create thick smoke without starting the fire, and had to give the match back to Ai Yang. Yang, you do it." And Ai Yang took the match, lightly struck it. Flick. The match lit up. Soon, flames came up from the dry grass in the baking oven, becoming more and more vigorous inside. Li Yanran, quite upset, said, "This damn oven. It's unfair to newcomers." And Ai Yang laughed softly. Li Yanran then asked, "Once the fire is started, where will you put the rabbit to roast?" And Ai Yang explained, "Once the oven's temperature reaches a certain level, you take out the firewood, you can roast things inside. It's like a natural oven." Li Yanran was skeptical. "Can it really be fully cooked?" And Ai Yang remained mysterious. "You'll see soon." After getting the fire ready in the oven, Ai Yang went to the kitchen to prepare other dishes. "Yanran, do you have any dishes you especially like? I can cook them for you." It was her first time at Ai Yang's house, so Li Yanran needed to be reserved to avoid scaring Ai Yang. Yang, I eat anything. I'm not picky." If her parents had heard her say that, they'd probably be moved to tears. Ai Yang laughed. "Then I'll cook whatever." "Sure." Just then, there was a child's crying in the air. Li Yanran asked, "Where's that child coming from?" "It's my little sister, she's over 9 months old now." Ai Yang explained. Li Yanran exclaimed in surprise, "Wow, Yang, you have a younger sister? I'll go check on her. I love children." Chapter 326. The Little Fangirl Visits, Plans to Advance _5. "Go ahead." Ai Yang nodded slightly. Li Yanran truly adored children, and little Ai Yan was equally fond of her. Peals of laughter, big and small, echoed continuously from the courtyard. Ai Yang rolled up her sleeves, preparing a table filled with fine dishes such as sour fish, grilled rabbit, spicy rabbit meat, fried river shrimp, vegetable tofu soup, and so on. It was a feast for the eye, nose, and palate. Li Yanran almost drooled as she watched from the side. It smelled incredibly delicious. Even better than what the chef they'd hired from abroad could make. Ai Tsuehua warmly said, "Yanran, don't be shy, come sit down and eat." "Thank you, Auntie." Li Yanran expressed her thanks politely and took a seat. Since it was her first time visiting Ai Yang's house, she was a bit reserved and hesitant to help herself to the dishes. Ai Tsuehua stood up and used serving chopsticks to serve Li Yanran. "Yanran, don't be shy when you're here at Auntie's house. We might not have any fancy dishes to offer, but go ahead and eat and drink as you wish. Please, don't starve yourself." Li Yanran smiled and said, "Auntie, you're too kind. Yang has prepared a whole table full of delicious dishes, and you're still saying there's no good food. Then eat up. Don't be shy. Li Yanran nodded, picked up a slice of fish and put it in her mouth. Truthfully, she didn't have any particular expectations for the fish dish. After all, fish has a strong smell. But the taste of this piece of fish astounded her. The fish was not only exceptionally tender, but also sour and spicy, making it extremely appetizing. It was so good that Li Yanran wished she could swallow her own tongue as well. She never knew fish could be cooked to taste this delicious. It's delicious. Li Yanran gave Yang a thumbs up. Yang, your cooking is absolutely amazing. Yang smiled slightly. Thank you. Li Yanran thought the fish was already delicious enough, until she tasted the grilled rabbit. The grilled rabbit was crispy outside and tender inside. The outer skin was sprinkled with a layer of chili powder and cumin powder. And once she bit down, oil oozed out, making every mouthful a delight. The deliciousness made Li Yanran doubt, could this rabbit meat really be grilled in that ordinary oven outside? This was absolutely magical. The spicy rabbit meat had a unique flavor, and the refreshing vegetable tofu soup effectively cut the richness. One mouthful of meat, one mouthful of soup. Happiness knew no bounds. Li Yanran, who usually only ate half a bowl of rice, managed to consume 2 large bowls of rice and a heap of dishes that day. It wasn't until around 6 in the evening that Li Yanran reluctantly proposed to leave. If possible, she even wanted to become Yang's real sister, so she could live in Yang's house and eat Yang's cooking every day. Yang was truly amazing. Not only was she a year younger than Yanran, she was also more beautiful. And not just that, she could cook and had excellent medical skills. She was nearly omnipotent. Even Yanran, the heir to a wealthy family, couldn't compare to half of her. She completely overturned Yanran's understanding of country girls. When she got home, she saw her brother Li Tingji sitting on the couch in the living room, carving something out of a piece of wood. Li Yanran curiously asked, "Brother, what are you doing?" Without looking up, Li Tingji replied, "Carving a handicraft." Li Yanran continued, "Why are you making a handicraft? Is it for Li Xianxian?" Li Tingji didn't answer, just continued carving the object in his hand. The crystal lamp light cast a gentle glow on his face, highlighting his focused and serious demeanor. Li Yanran sighed. "Brother, are you out of your mind? Li Xianxian doesn't like you at all. She likes Mo Baichuan." Li Tingji didn't reply. He was never much of a talker. His way of liking someone was simple. Quietly loving, silently protecting. As long as that person was happy, that was enough. Li Yanran continued. "Brother, are you listening to me at all?" Li Tingji remained silent. Li Yanran said, "Brother, you're not blind. How could you be attracted to someone like Li Xianxian? She's not worthy of you at all. Don't you dare badmouth Xianxian." Li Tingji looked up at Li Yanran. Xianxian is knowledgeable and talented. He had never met a girl as talented and knowledgeable as Li Xianxian. What truly conquered Li Tingji was a poem by Li Xianxian, published in a wall newspaper. "I came by the moonlight, only because you were in the mountains. The mountain breeze brushed my hair, neck, bare shoulders. And the moonlight clothed me in splendor." Chapter 327. The Little Fangirl Visits, Plans to Advance _6. Could an ordinary girl compose such a poem if she weren't talented? Absolutely impossible. Li Yanran rolled her eyes speechlessly. "Brother, those involved are often perplexed while bystanders see things clearly. Don't be deceived by appearances. Li Xianxian is not as wonderful as you think. You have no idea, her manner of eating was so disgusting at the Mo family's last time. It was nauseating." Li Yanran didn't like Li Xianxian one bit, and she couldn't understand why Li Tingji fell for Li Xianxian. How could such a smart and savvy girl like her have such a foolish brother? Out of all the people, why does he have to fall for Li Xianxian? She's such a flirt. Li Yanran. Li Tingji lifted his head, each word filled with a stern warning. Silently Li Yanran responded, All right. I won't say it." Li Tingji glared at Li Yanran cautioning, "If I ever hear you insult Xianxian again, even if you're my sister, I won't be easy on you." Li Yanran chuckled lightly. "What will you do? Kill your own sister?" Li Tingji coldly responded. Try and see. At his words, Li Yanran shivered involuntarily. Oh my god! Could her foolish brother be losing his mind? This won't do. She can't let Li Tingji sink any deeper into this. Li Tingji needs to see someone who is superior to Li Xianxian. Then, an image popped into Li Yanran's mind of someone with picturesque facial features. Yang. Not only is Yang 1,000, no 1,000,000 times more attractive than Li Xianxian, but she's also exceptionally talented. Most importantly, her cooking is delicious, leaving Li Xianxian far behind in the dust. Yes. It should be Yang. Grinning, Li Yanran said. Brother, aren't you going to ask where I went today? Li Tingji coolly responded. I don't know. Li Yanran wasn't bothered by Li Tingji's attitude. Her weird brother never had a good expression for anyone. I went to a friend's house. Her name is Yang, incredibly beautiful and very capable. Lots of times better than Li Xianxian. Upon hearing the last sentence, Li Tingji's expression changed abruptly. Stop your unrealistic fantasies. In this life aside from Xianxian, I will never love anyone else. Li Yanran responded speechlessly. Brother, don't be so cocky. What if you end up truly liking Yang? Li Tingji stated firmly. That's absolutely impossible. He has seen plenty of attractive girls before, but he is not the kind to judge a person based solely on looks. He values their inner essence. What if you fall for her? Li Yanran raised an eyebrow. There are no what-ifs. Li Yanran continued. Brother, is it really worth it? Li Xianxian doesn't like you at all. Not only does Li Xianxian not like Li Tingji, but she's also stringing him along, giving him mixed signals, which is what Li Yanran dislikes most about Li Xianxian. Yet, Li Tingji can't seem to see it, treating Li Xianxian like a treasure. Li Tingji said. This is my business, not yours. Li Yanran replied. But you're my brother. How is it not related to me? Take care of yourself, said Li Tingji as he stood up, put on his coat and walked out. Brother, where are you going? Li Yanran immediately followed behind Li Tingji. Li Tingji turned to look back at Li Yanran. Stop following me. With a sigh of resignation, Li Yanran didn't bother guessing where her foolish brother was heading. He was surely off to find Li Xianxian. It seems she must devise a plan for Yang and Li Tingji to meet. Li Yanran stroked her chin in contemplation. As expected, Li Tingji had indeed gone to see Li Xianxian. He waited for a long time outside the girls' dormitory, until he finally saw Li Xianxian come downstairs. Tingji, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. It's fine. Li Tingji seemed a bit nervous standing in front of the girl he liked. I'm not in a rush. Li Xianxian glanced at Li Tingji and said, By the way Tingji, I have a favor to ask. Whatever you need Xianxian, Li Tingji said. As long as I can help I definitely will. Li Xianxian asked. Could you lend me 20,000 yuan? Mo Baichuan's birthday was fast approaching, and Li Xianxian wanted to give him a surprise. Additionally, she wanted to repay a debt. Without hesitation, Li Tingji responded. Of course Xianxian, but I don't have the cash on me right now. How about I bring it to you tomorrow morning? At this, Li Xianxian looked shaken. She knew that Li Tingji had always liked her, but she hadn't expected him to agree to lend her the money so readily. After all, 20,000 wasn't a small sum. 20,000 in the 80s was equivalent to 200,000 in later years. If she had known how much Li Tingji liked her, she wouldn't have needed to sell blood to buy the ice skin jade cream last time. She could have just borrowed the money from Li Tingji. What a miscalculation. Li Xianxian internally kicked herself. How could she have forgotten about Li Tingji? Maintaining her composure, Li Xianxian nodded. Thank you, Tingji. By the way, why did you call me out so late at night? Li Tingji continued. Oh, I have something to give you. He then took out a wood carving from his pocket and handed it to Li Xianxian. The wood carving depicted a phoenix soaring with wings spread wide. In Li Tingji's heart, Li Xianxian was a noble phoenix. Li Xianxian reached out to take it. Thank you. I really like it. Li Tingji blushed a bit. I'm glad you like it. I'll take my leave if there's nothing else. Li Xianxian nodded. Li Tingji turned to leave. Just then, Li Xianxian suddenly called out to Li Tingji, Tingji, wait. Li Tingji halted. Xianxian, what is it? Walking over, Li Xianxian gently embraced Li Tingji before whispering in his ear. Tingji, thank you so much. I feel really fortunate to have such a good confidant in you in this lifetime. Li Tingji froze, his heart pounding in his chest. Feeling Li Tingji's heartbeat, a smile tugged at the corners of Li Xianxian's mouth. It seemed that she had underestimated his feelings for her. There was nothing wrong with Li Tingji. He was well off and influential. It was just that he paled in comparison to Mo Baichuan. The dim night light conveniently concealed their movements. Had it been daylight, it undoubtedly would have caused a stir, especially considering the conservative standards of male-female relationships in the 80s. Having returned from the future, Li Xianxian didn't think there was anything inappropriate about a hug between a man and a woman, as long as their relationship remained that of platonic friends. As for what Li Tingji thought, that was none of her concern. Chapter 328. Beautiful Rose Wall. Have Western food together _1 Li Xianxian thoroughly enjoyed the sense of superiority from being pursued by men. What was this behavior called? In later times it was referred to as being a white lotus, green tea bitch. But Li Xianxian certainly did not see it that way. If she had the ability to make men submit at her feet, offering her everything, why was she labeled in various derogatory terms? As for those who lacked the ability, they could only resort to jealousy and slander. Feeling that the time was right, Li Xianxian let go of Li Tingji. Tingji, it's getting late, you should head back. Okay. Li Tingji seemed slightly out of it. By the time he came to his senses, Li Xianxian had already disappeared into the dense night. He promised himself to protect Li Xianxian for the rest of his life. Staring at the direction of Li Xianxian's disappearance, a firm resolve glimmered in Li Tingji's eyes. Yang has been quite busy recently. She was not only occupied with the noodle restaurant's affairs but also the renovation of the new house. The new house was only built to the second floor, still 2 floors short of completion. The outer walls were already set up. Yang planned to plant roses around the walls to create a natural rose wall. Roses were vine-like plants, with blossoms that could be pink or red. If allowed to grow all over the wall, it would be quite a sight. Even when there were no flowers, a lush green wall wouldn't be unsightly. Living under a beautiful rose wall, just imagining it felt so romantic. Life should be filled with moments of charm and grace. In reality, Yang always had a love for life and the countryside, but in her previous life, she was too busy with work and earnings and missed out on the beauty of life. So, she wants to achieve all that she missed in her previous life, in this one. Besides the rose wall, Yang also planned to build a grape trellis in the courtyard, with a stone table and chairs under it, where they could laze about and eat grapes in the summer. On the night of Qixi Festival, Chinese Valentine's, one could eavesdrop on the conversation between Niulong and Jinu, cowherd and weaver girl, under the grape trellis. She wanted to dig a small pond too, plant some water lilies, raise a few koi fish and a couple of turtles. Yang picked up her pen and started designing the courtyard. In a little while, a gorgeous little courtyard began taking shape on the paper. Yang clapped her hands, rose from her chair, and started on the first design on her blueprint. The rose wall. The wall was already complete. All it needed now were the roses. Roses. There were rose seeds sold in the city's gardening center, but the seeds take a long time to sprout. By the time the roses enveloped the entire wall, it would be into the next year. Yang rubbed her chin pensively. Suddenly, she remembered there were wild roses on the mountain behind. The wild roses were a fiery red color, exotic and vibrant, even more so framed by the green leaves. It was now mid-spring, the perfect time to grow wild roses. Come summertime, a wall full of red flowers could be seen. However, as Yang had just moved to Jinghua village, she couldn't remember where the wild roses were. Yang picked up a small hoe, put on her carry bag, greeted Tsuehua, and headed outside. On reaching the village center, she saw Gooden playing marbles under a banyan tree with a few kids. Coincidentally, as Yang arrived, she saw young Guobao running towards them exhilarated. Sister Yang. Guobao. Yang squatted down and opened her arms to him. Young Guobao rushed into Yang's arms. Sister and Yang, I missed you a lot. Debeo, what brought you here? Gooden approached, his face filled with surprise. Gooden. Yang Guobao turned and hugged Gooden. Gooden, a bit embarrassed, said, grown men, all this hugging is a bit. Yang Guobao interrupted. Oh Gooden, sister and Yang, I brought gifts for you all. As he said this, Yang Guobao took out 2 blue boxes, slightly larger than a cigarette pack. These are Tetris game consoles? And Yang raised an eyebrow slightly. She didn't expect Tetris game consoles to exist in this era. She thought these consoles were from the 90s. But having a Tetris game console in this era was sure more impressive than owning a cell phone in the later era. What's this? Gooden asked curiously. This is a video game console, it'll teach you how to play. Yang Guobao switched it on, and a familiar tune filled the air. While Yang Guobao manipulated the game console, he explained to Gooden. These 4 buttons here represent up, down, left, and right and help control the direction of the Tetris blocks. The big button on the right rotates the blocks and also starts the game. Chapter 329. Beautiful Rose Wall. Have Western food together _2. The game console had a black and white display screen, containing games like Tetris, pinball, shooting, racing, and tank fighting. Gooden was a smart kid. He figured out how to operate it after just a few tries. Debeo, thank you. I really like this game console. Gooden carefully put the game console into his pocket. Yang Guobao replied with a laugh. We are good buddies, Gooden. You don't have to be so polite with me. Since it was a gift from Yang Guobao, and Yang naturally did not refuse. She touched Yang Guobao's head and said, Guobao, thank you. Yang Guobao said, Sister and Yang, you should call me Debeo. After all, he and Gooden were both men of the dog generation. And Yang chuckled. Okay, Debeo, Debeo. Yang Guobao then asked, Sister and Yang, where are you going? And Yang replied, I thought of taking a walk on the mountain. Oh, Gooden, do you know where there are wild roses on the hill? Having grown up here, Gooden knew the environment of the mountain much better than Yang. Hearing this, Gooden scratched his head in confusion. Wild rose? What is a wild rose? Yang thought for a moment, then said, It's spiked mallow. Do you know where the spiked mallow is on the mountain? Spiked mallow is another name for wild rose. In the countryside, wild roses are called by this name. Sure enough, as soon as she mentioned spiked mallow, Gooden understood immediately. Oh, sister and Yang, you mean spiked mallow. I know where it is, it'll take you there, but the spiked mallow is not blooming now, sister and Yang. Why do you want spiked mallow? And Yang explained with a smile. I want to dig up the spiked mallow to build a rose wall. Yang Guobao followed behind saying, Sister and Yang, Gooden'll go with you. Sure. And Yang nodded. The 3 of them, 1 adult and 2 kids, walked towards the mountain with cheerful steps. It was April, the snow had melted, tender green grass was quietly poking out of the ground. The clear call of birds echoed through the woods, giving a sense of vibrant life. Wow. What bird is that? Is that a phoenix? It was Yang Guobao's first time in the mountains, and he found everything exciting. And Yang explained with a smile. That is a golden pheasant. Yang Guobao then said, Let's catch a golden pheasant to play with? Gooden immediately stopped Yang Guobao's dangerous idea. No, the golden pheasant is a national second-class protected animal. It's punishable by imprisonment to catch it. The villagers of Jinghua village were especially conscious of protecting wildlife. No one in the village poached wild animals covertly. Hearing this, Yang Guobao had to abandon the idea. After a while, Gooden led Yang to a large bush. Sister and Yang, this is the spiked mallow bush. Yang grabbed a small hoe and began to dig out the wild roses. As Gooden and Yang Guobao didn't have any tools to help, the 2 boys decided to play somewhere else. In no time, Yang had dug up a full box of wild rose seedlings. At this moment, Yang Guobao and Gooden came running happily, each holding 2 plants that resembled an orchid. Sister and Yang, look, we found orchids. Sister and Yang, we'll give them to you for planting. Thank you. And Yang reached out to take them, thinking of planting them in her yard. Gooden then said, Sister and Yang, let me carry the box for you. The box Yang was carrying was full of wild rose seedlings. It looked very heavy. With him, a sturdy young boy around, How could they let a girl do such heavy work? And Yang grinned. No need, Gooden, you still need to grow taller. If you carry something so heavy, be careful, you might end up not growing tall. Gooden insisted. Sister and Yang, it's really okay, I'm very strong. He had often done hard work at home. And Yang reached out and gave Gooden's head a rub. Sister and Yang knows you're strong. But we're going downhill now, it's dangerous for a child to carry so much. I can do it myself. You and Debeo can walk ahead and lead the way. Consider it as being Sister and Yang's little flower protectors. Upon hearing this, Gooden relented and walked up front with Yang Guobao, each holding a stick, acting as Sister and Yang's flower protectors. Once they arrived home, Yang began to plant the wild roses. Yang Guobao and Gooden also helped with their little hoes. Gooden, who grew up in the village, was as efficient at the work as an adult, while Yang Guobao, having grown up in the city, was a bit clumsy with manual work. Chapter 330. Beautiful Rose Wall. Have Western food together _3. Yang Guobao, and Gooden were busy planting flowers at the front, with Suehua following behind to water and fertilize them. She had no idea what Yang was up to, but whatever it was, she would support unconditionally. Although Suehua couldn't cook as well as Yang, she was quite a pro when it came to nurturing plants. After all, she used to be a farmer. She knew what kind of fertilizer could make wild roses grow faster, and what kind of pesticide could keep bugs away from them. After planting the wild roses, Yang went to the yard and picked out a spot to plant 2 orchids. Once everything was done, Yang thought of a new idea when she saw a pile of timber lying nearby. She moved 8 large logs to the corner, and then went to borrow tools like a saw and planer from the carpenter, who was building a house. As the carpenter was measuring a wooden template, he curiously asked, Yang, what do you need these tools for? The tools for sawing wood were as sharp as a knife. It was not safe for a girl to handle such tools. Yang explained, I'm thinking of making a swing. A swing? The carpenter scratched his head. What kind of swing do you want, Yang? When I have some free time, I can make one for you. Making a swing was not only technical but also required physical strength, Yang was just a little girl after all. She could hardly make it on her own. This was a job for men. Yang smiled and said, Thank you, but I want to try it myself. When I hit a snag, I'll come to ask for your help. All right. The carpenter handed Yang the tools. Yang took the tools and politely said thank you. In fact, Yang had made a swing in her previous life. However, she had not done it for a long time and was a bit rusty with the methods. As she was sawing and planing the wood, Yang Guobao and Gooden squatted nearby and watched. Sister and Yang, can you really make a swing? Of course. Yang Guobao affirmed. Sister and Yang is the most capable person in the world. The original baking oven was jointly made by Yang and Yang Guobao. In April, the weather started to warm up slightly, and because Yang was doing physical work, her forehead was soon covered with sweat beads. Yang took off her outer jacket, revealing a white sweater beneath, and tied up her black hair into a bun, exuding a youthful aura. When Mo Baichuan appeared at the entrance to the family courtyard, he was greeted by this sight. The girl in front of him left him slightly dazed. Just then, the door next to the courtyard opened, and a beautiful middle-aged woman carrying a child walked out. Upon seeing Mo Baichuan, she paused. Who are you looking for? It was not difficult to see a resemblance to Yang in the woman's eyes. I'm looking for Yang, Mo Baichuan replied. He initially thought of politely greeting her, but on second thought, he didn't need to please Yang specifically. If anyone should be trying to please, it should be Yang trying to please him. Him deigning to come personally was already giving enough face to Yang. This young man didn't know his place, Suehua thought and frowned subtly, then shouted for Yang. Yang, come quickly, someone's looking for you. I'm coming. Yang put down the tools in her hands, turned around and walked towards the entrance. Who's looking? Upon seeing Mo Baichuan, she stopped in her tracks. What are you doing here? Seeking attention? Even now, Yang still didn't think much of Mo Baichuan. Even if Mo Baichuan was the nephew of Mo Qishan, Mo Baichuan saw the surprise in Yang's eyes. Surprise? Shouldn't Yang be thrilled and flattered? How long does Yang intend to keep this pretense up? Mo Baichuan handed the bag he was carrying to Yang. Don't misunderstand. My grandmother sent me here. These Qingming fruits were also her idea. Only then did Yang remember that Qingming festival was approaching. Even though it was already April, this was according to the solar calendar. According to the lunar calendar, it was only the 9th of March. There were no specific dates for the Qingming festival. According to the solar term, the 12th of this month would be the Qingming festival. The tradition in Beijing was to eat Qingming fruit during the Qingming festival. Qingming fruit is essentially a large dumpling, but because mugwort juice was added when kneading the dough, the color was green. Yang naturally wouldn't refuse the kindness of Mrs. Mo. She reached out and took the bag. Please thank Mrs. Mo for me. Chapter 331. Beautiful Rose Wall. Have Western food together _4. Auntie Mo? Mo Baichuan frowned slightly. I'm your grandmother. Do you think it's appropriate for you to call me Auntie Mo? Yang gave a faint smile. I call you uncle and even brother Mo, so why wouldn't it be appropriate to call you Auntie Mo? Technically, I'm a generation older than you. Do you think it's right for you to call me by my first name? Mo Baichuan's eyes flashed with noticeable displeasure. Yang, do you really have to do this? I think I've made myself clear enough. You would never fancy someone like Yang. No matter what Yang does, it would all be in vain. Yang knew he was being narcissistic again. She turned her gaze to Tsuehua. Mom, I baked some fruit slices in the bread oven. Can you go check on them for me? Tsuehua, being a perceptive individual, immediately carried the child into the courtyard. Sure, I'm on it. Yang looked at Mo Baichuan, trying to keep her voice calm. Mo Baichuan, I think I've already made myself clear, rest assured. I'm not even slightly interested in you. To tell you the truth, I like guys like your uncle, and am already with him. By that account, I'm of your aunt's generation. Do you think I would harbor any inappropriate thoughts towards a younger generation? Mo Baichuan tightly pursed his lips, remaining silent. How was that even possible? How could Yang possibly be with that useless Mo Qishan? She must be using a feign weakness strategy to provoke him. Did she really think he Mo Baichuan was that easily provoked? Yang continued. There's another thing, I believe I need to clarify with you. The watch last time. I found it on the grass, but when I rushed out, you were already gone. Yang pondered, and concluded that Mo Baichuan might have misunderstood her regarding this matter. But she truly did find the watch. Everything else was just a coincidence. Hearing her words, Mo Baichuan's eyes shone with cynicism. Alright, let's say you found the watch. Then why did you show up in Beijing? Accidentally preparing breakfast for Granny Mo. And then saving Mo Hutie. This was clearly Yang deliberately trying to get close to him. Yang was amused by his accusation. Why can't I come to Beijing? Does the entire Beijing belong to your family? You are such a dictator. Having said that, Yang continued in a calm manner. I came to Beijing because it's a big city with a broad mind, where I can live a better life. Moreover, I didn't know you were from Beijing before I came here. Mo Baichuan looked at Yang, continuing his interrogation. Then why didn't you leave immediately after seeing me in Beijing? Leave? Yang was again amused. Why should I leave? Does the whole of Beijing belong to you, Mo Baichuan? Mo Baichuan, you can be anything in this world, but there's one thing you must never lack. Do you know what that is? Considering Mo Baichuan is Mo Qishan's nephew, Yang wanted to have a proper conversation with him, but this guy simply wouldn't give her a chance. After all, it's better to resolve misunderstandings than keep them. If Mo Baichuan was going to continue being like this, then she wouldn't be polite anymore. Mo Baichuan stared at Yang, his eyes full of scrutiny. Yang continued. That's self-awareness, the wise know others, the enlightened know themselves. Yang, I admit, your feign weakness strategy did attract me, but you should understand the principle of quitting while you're ahead. If you keep going like this, you're only going to outrun yourself. You might even end up shooting yourself in the foot. Having said this, Mo Baichuan continued. I'm willing to give you a chance to get close to me, whether you can seize it, that's up to you. Although my wife has to be from a prominent family, if you're willing to work hard, who knows, you might be able to reach the position you want. Although Mo Baichuan truly despised Ni Yang's approach of getting close to him, he had to admit, she did attract him. As long as Ni Yang could mend her ways in the future, he believed he could reluctantly try to accept Ni Yang. Of course, whether she could seize this opportunity was up to Ni Yang herself. Ni Yang took a deep breath and reiterated, Mo Baichuan, I'm truly with your uncle Mo Qishan, and I don't harbor any inappropriate thoughts towards you. However, you could give this opportunity to Li Xianxian. I believe she'd be overjoyed to hear about it. Chapter 332. Beautiful Rose Wall, have Western food together _5. If things go on like this, Ni Yang feels like she'd go insane. Why on earth did she go to the mountains to cut pig grass? If she hadn't cut the pig grass, she wouldn't have run into the suspicious narcissist, Mo Baichuan. Are you being jealous of Li Xianxian? Mo Baichuan narrowed his eyes. Oh my god. Ni Yang almost lost her patience. I feel like I've made it clear enough. Can you please stop being so narcissistic? She was going crazy. Why were simple truths so hard to articulate to Mo Baichuan? Ni Yang. It wasn't just Ni Yang who was speechless, Mo Baichuan was too. Despite the circumstances, she was still playing hard to get. Was she waiting for him to chase her? Want him to chase her? That was impossible. Impossible in this lifetime. I've made myself very clear. Can't you stop pretending? Are you not tired of it? Ni Yang, this is so hard. I'm having such a tough time. The gate is over there, hope you find your way out. With that said, Ni Yang closed the courtyard gate. She couldn't entertain Mo Baichuan too much because no matter what she did, he always interpreted it as deliberate seduction or playing hard to get. So she had no choice but to ignore him. Mo Baichuan looked at the tightly closed gate, his eyebrows furrowing deeply. What was Ni Yang trying to do? He had already lowered himself so much, but she kept playing hard to get. Didn't she realize she was overdoing things? Ni Yang, you'll regret this. With those words left behind, Mo Baichuan stormed off in a huff. He firmly believed that Ni Yang would eventually give in and come looking for him. As for whether or not he'd given Ni Yang a chance at that time, that was another matter. Ni Yang, in the courtyard, squinted slightly. As she had been standing there talking to Mo Baichuan for a good while, Ni Yang now felt cold. She put her coat back on and continued making the swing. Just then, Ni Tsuehua came over from next door, holding a child. Yang, has that young man just now left? Yeah. Ni Yang nodded. Yang, who is he? Why did he bring you ripe Qingming fruit? Ni Tsuehua asked curiously. Ni Yang explained. He's Brother Mo's nephew. The ripe Qingming fruit was sent by Granny Mo. Oh, I see. Ni Tsuehua nodded thoughtfully. So he's Xiaomo's nephew. He's so inferior to Xiaoma. No manners at all, as if someone owes him money. Ni Tsuehua appreciated the young man, Mo Qishan, much more than Mo Baichuan. Ni Yang nodded in agreement. Indeed, he's so much worse than Brother Mo. Seeing Ni Yang like this, Ni Tsuehua felt much more relieved. She was afraid Ni Yang would foolishly fancy a clueless youngster like Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan was clearly a strong machismo type, who would surely not know how to pamper his wife in the future. By the way, Yang, what are you doing? Ni Tsuehua asked again. Making a swing. Ni Yang looked up and pointed at little Ni Yun's nose. Making a swing for our little Yunyan to play. Little Ni Yun giggled when Ni Yang teased her. Auntie Hua, let me hold my little sister. Yang Guobao spread his arms out. Ni Tsuehua carefully handed the baby over to Yang Guobao. Little sister, do you remember me? I'm your big brother Guobao. Little Ni Yun looked at Yang Guobao, and then started to laugh loudly. Little sister, I am your big brother Gooden. Gooden joined them from the side. The two of them played with little Ni Yun joyfully. About 2 hours later, Ni Yang finally finished the swing. Gooden, Guobao, you two come over and give it a try. Ni Yang called Gooden and Yang Guobao over. The two happily ran over, climbed on the swing, with Ni Yang pushing from behind. Wow. So high. The swing is so fun. Sister Ni Yang is so amazing. After a while, Yang Guobao and Gooden slid down from the swing, and pulled Yang onto the swing. Sister Yang, hold on tight. We're going to start pushing. The gentle breeze lifted her dancing black hair, creating a stunning visual against her flawless face. The feeling of swinging was quite extraordinary. When reaching the highest point, she felt as though she was soaring, turning all her worries into a swift wind by her ear. The construction workers on the second floor making the house were all shocked when they saw this scene. Especially that carpenter from before. Originally, he thought Yang would need his help to make the swing. He didn't expect that Yang was so capable. Chapter 333. Beautiful Rose Wall, have Western food together _6. Someone just built a swing set all by themselves. If this were in ancient times, she would definitely be considered a female general. Impressive. Really impressive. By the time she finished constructing the swing, it was already evening, and Yang began to cook. The workers were not eating at their house that night, so she only needed to prepare 3 dishes and a soup. Yang quickly put together the menu. One was for breast enlargement, one for slimming, and the last was a soup to reduce dark circles under the eyes. In the evening after dinner, Tsuehua came out of her room holding her nose. Yang, what was that thing you brought back from Guangguan last time? It stinks. Stinks. Yang wrinkled her brows. Oh, go check. Tsuehua pointed at the big bulky thing in the corner which was covered in spikes all over. Yang, look at this thing. It stinks. Yang took a look and realized it was a durian. She had brought it back unripe from Guangguan last time and left it at home for a few days to ripen. The smell indicated it was now ripe. Mom, this isn't a stench, it's fragrance. Tsuehua incredulously replied. It's so stinky and yet you call it fragrant? Yang explained. Mom, this is called durian, it's a fruit from the tropical region. It smells bad to some people, but it tastes nothing but delicious. Really? Tsuehua was doubtful. She suspected her daughter was teasing her, but she had no evidence. Yang moved the durian to the table while smiling. It's really true. Mom, I'll cut the durian open. You go call Auntie and let her taste this exotic fruit. Tsuehua replied. Invite Aunt to eat something this stinky? What if it upsets her stomach? Tsuehua was obviously uneasy, having never had durian before. Because it really stinks. Yang smiled and said. I promise you'll feel different after just one bite. Doubtful but curious, Tsuehua went to find Chingue with her child in her arms. After a short while, Chingue arrived. What's that smell? It's so strong. Tsuehua replied. It's a durian. I told her we can't eat it, but Yang insisted it's delicious and asked me to call you over. Auntie here, try a piece of durian. Yang handed Chingue a piece of durian. Chingue took the durian and said delicately, this thing, it's a bit smelly. Not just a bit, it was really stinky. Yang handed a piece to Tsuehua and said with a smile. The durian smells bad, but it tastes delicious. Aunt you'll find out once you take a bite. Chingue swallowed, unable to believe what he was hearing. This thing didn't look appetizing at all. Yang took a big bite of the white, pulpy fruit. The luscious, sweet flavor felt just like eating ice cream. No matter how times change, the taste of durian remains the same. It was a taste she missed and couldn't help sighing. It's actually really good. Is it really that good? Seeing her eating it like that, Chingue took a small piece and put it in his mouth. The taste wasn't as bizarre as he imagined. Another bite, it was a tad sweet. Just like that. Chingue was taking one bite after another, unknowingly polishing off the entire piece of durian. Surprised, he said to Yang. Yang, this is actually really good. The texture was really unique. Unlike any other crisp fruit, this felt soft and creamy, offering an entirely different flavor. Seeing Chingue had finished the entire piece, Tsuehua also decided to taste it. She suddenly discovered that the taste was actually bearable. So, the three of them ended up devouring the whole durian. It was really good, said Chingue, sitting in the chair. He then asked, Yang, how did you know this was a delicious fruit? Such a stinky fruit, anyone else wouldn't dare to try it. But Yang was different. She brings surprises every moment. And I Yang replied with a smile. This is a special product of Guangguan. I bought it home to try because people said it was delicious, and as it turns out it really is. The next day, Inai Yang took Inai Tsuehua and Inai Yin to the city. Mom, these are the new shops I bought. Inai Yang took Inai Tsuehua in front of two new shops. Inai Tsuehua stood in front of the new shops with mixed feelings. Somehow, she was reminded of the days she spent with her daughter in Dam Village. Back then, she could never have imagined that one day she would live the life she was living now. Mom, let's go in and take a look. Inai Yang led Inai Tsuehua into one of the shops. The person in charge of the renovation was Wang Tainia's nephew, Zhou Dahua. Zhou Dahua was a reliable person, just like Wang Tiniu. He was very grateful to Inai Yang for giving him this opportunity to make money. Yang, you're here, who is this? Zhou Dahua warmly greeted. Inai Yang introduced him. Uncle Zhou, this is my mom. Mom, this is Uncle Tainia's nephew. Zhou Dahua replied. Nice to meet you, Inai. Just call me Xiaozhou. Xiaozhou, you guys have been working hard these days. Zhou Dahua replied with a smile. Not at all. You've paid us, so this is the least we could do. Inai Yang not only paid them but also paid them 3 times the market price. Therefore, the workers were filled with energy while working. Inai Yang took Inai Tsuehua for a tour around the shop, and then they went to the physical store of ice silk fair-skin in the mall. After strolling in the mall for a while, and buying some spring clothes, they finally left the mall. It was already nearly 12 noon. Inai Yang looked at Inai Tsuehua and said, Mom, let's go eat something. We hardly get to come to the city. We should treat ourselves to something nice. Thinking of the 158 yuan they had spent on the last meal, Inai Tsuehua said with a bit of distress, No need for something too fancy, we can just go to a shop and have some noodles. We can have noodles any day. After a thought, Inai Yang decided to take Inai Tsuehua to a Western restaurant to broaden her horizons. At this time, there were already 2 Western restaurants in the city. Unlike the opulent state-run restaurant that they visited last time, the Western restaurant was stylish and elegant, and the waitstaff had a strong sense of service. The restaurant was filled with the romantic melodies of the renowned violin piece, My Own True Love. A waiter escorted the 2 to a window table and asked, What can I get you? Erase the menu. Inai Yang flipped through the menu and started ordering. 2 sirloin steaks, 1 medium rare, 1 well done. A pizza, French escargot. Then 2 cups of cappuccino and 1 cup of plain milk. That will be all for now, thank you. Chapter 334. Teach the scum a lesson. Be the matchmaker _1. Inai Yang had her steak cooked medium rare. Considering that it was Inai Kuihua's first time eating steak, and she might not be used to it, Inai Yang ordered one that was well done for her. Well done. Upon hearing this, the waiter showed contempt in his eyes. Just some country bumpkins, dressed up smartly, but that flashy exterior couldn't hide the sour stench of poverty about them. I'm sorry, but we don't serve well-done steaks here. The impatience was escalating in the waiter's eyes. In the year or so he's been working here, had hardly encountered customers who ordered their steak well done. Even medium rares were fine. The best way to enjoy a steak was to have it rare. How come there's no well-done steak? Inai Yang slightly tilted her head up, her eyes twinkling with a captivating spirit. The waiter felt somewhat oppressed, as if facing a superior. Was it an illusion? She clearly looked a few years younger than him. The waiter responded calmly, The minimum our customers order is medium. Sorry, we truly don't serve well-done steak. Inai Yang, without intending to give the waiter a hard time, spoke softly. Would you please let your head chef know to cook my mom's steak well done? She's not used to medium rare steak. I'm sorry. While the word sorry left the waiter's mouth, there was not a hint of remorse in his expression. We can't make a well-done steak. Inai Yang placed down the menu, slightly furrowed her brows. You haven't conveyed the message yet. How do you know the kitchen can't prepare it? Is your steak not prepared in the kitchen? It is prepared in the kitchen. Inai Yang ordered. Then please ask the chef to cook my mother's steak well done. Sorry, we can't. The waiter reiterated his previous statement. This is a Western restaurant. Those without qualifications and can't speak English can't truly fit in. While he was merely a waiter, His salary was much higher than that of ordinary workers. He really didn't think much of Enai Tsuehua and Enai Yang, regarding them as country bumpkins. Enai Yang slightly furrowed her brow. Rules are dead. People are alive. Is it so difficult to convey a message to the kitchen? In your position, do your job, fulfill your duty. Have you forgotten your responsibility? If you don't want to eat, the door's right over there. She didn't need to serve them if they didn't want to eat. Enai Yang smiled faintly, opting not to stoop to the waiter's level. I'd like to speak with your manager. The commotion quickly drew the attention of the other customers. All eyes were turned in their direction. A well-done steak was indeed rare to see. So was such a beautiful young lady. They were eager to see how Enai Yang would resolve this issue. Upon hearing this, the waiter showed no signs of fear but instead smiled and said, "All right, just a moment. This is a Western restaurant after all." Barring the waitstaff, all the leaders here were from F country. They didn't speak Chinese, only speaking French. Did Enai Yang plan to lodge a complaint? Could she speak French? Given her appearance, she probably couldn't even recognize all 26 English alphabets. If Enai Yang called the manager, she would only end up embarrassing herself. The waiter had seen too many people from his country embarrassed by their lack of French skills while communicating with their superiors. Thinking about this, the waiter was filled with disdain. Sure enough, a muscular man with blonde hair and blue eyes soon came over with the waiter. "Hello." The manager respectfully bowed, speaking in fluent French. Seeing the blonde, blue-eyed manager, the crowd couldn't wait to witness the drama that was about to unfold. Oh, he's from F country. The young lady was going to fall flat on her face this time. Youths are too impulsive, always demanding to see managers when things don't go their way. If they can't make a well-done steak, just leave. Why make it so awkward? Enai Yang didn't anticipate a foreigner from F country to show up, and was momentarily startled. The waiter's dismissive look became even more evident. He immediately spoke. "Manager, hayrase the deal. This customer is causing trouble, wanting to dine and dash." Relying on the fact that Enai Yang and the other customers didn't understand French, he started painting Enai Yang as a brazen customer seeking a free meal. At a nearby table, a middle-aged man elegantly sliced a piece of steak and said to a young man across from him, "Xiaoxiu, please help that lady out." Chapter 335. Teach Scum a lesson. Act as a matchmaker _2. Everyone here is Chinese. He can't bear to see compatriots treating their fellow citizens in such a manner. Just because they can speak some French, now it seems they have even forgotten their own last name. "Okay, Dad." The young man nodded, picked up a napkin to wipe his mouth, and got up to walk towards Enai Yang. This young man was none other than Shang Guansu, but had several encounters with Enai Yang. Enai Yang had helped him once before, and now he could return the favor. Just then, a fluent French voice resonated in the air. It was quite pure, pronounced very standardly, as delightful as an April breeze on earth. Shang Guansu looked up. The person seemed to be covered with a layer of gold, dazzling to the extreme. This time, not only was Shang Guansu stunned, but the surrounding diners were also amazed. This young girl was so impressive. Even though they didn't understand French, they could feel it. This feeling was awe-inspiring. "This is what happened. Can your restaurant not make a steak medium well?" asked Enai Yang, her tone indifferent yet intimidating. The waiter's face turned pale. She couldn't believe it. Such fluent French came from the mouth of a country bumpkin. How could this be? If Enai Yang could speak French, what did that make her? A joke? After understanding what happened, the restaurant manager bowed, saying respectfully, "We are extremely sorry for the unpleasant dining experience. I will arrange for your steak to be prepared. Our customers are our benefactors. Whether you want a medium-well steak, or even a well-done steak, we will follow your instructions. Also, all your meal orders today will be on us." The restaurant manager's attitude showed a lot of sincerity. Enai Yang replied, "It's not necessary to waive the bill, just make one of the steak medium well." Enai Yang wasn't the type that wanted to take advantage of situations. All she wanted was a positive attitude and a proper result. "All right, please wait a moment." As soon as he finished speaking, the restaurant manager turned his gaze to the waitress. You will no longer be working here from now on. Manager, I was wrong. I will never dare to do it again. The waitress was sweating profusely. How could she lose this job? She was earning 100 yuan monthly at this place. Where could she get a job that would pay her 100 yuan a month? The waiter hurriedly apologized to Yang. I'm so sorry. It was unintentional. I beg you to forgive me. Please give me another chance. I truly do not want to lose this job. Yang smiled faintly. Sorry, I'm just a customer. The decision to keep you or not lies with your superior, and this is beyond my control. If it had been someone else who didn't understand French, they would have been cheated today. Yang isn't a saint. In her book, she only repays kindness with kindness and pay back hostility with hostility. She does not repay hostility with kindness. People must always pay a price for their words and actions. Hearing her words, the waitress' mind went blank and she stumbled out of the restaurant, escorted by others. Shang Guansu returned to his own seat, but the surprise on his face had not completely faded. How should he put it? He really hadn't expected that Yang could speak French, and she did it so well too. Shang Guanzu's father, Shang Guandehue, also had an admiring look in his eyes. This young girl really was an exceptional talent. Indeed, one should never judge a book by its cover. Now they could see there are really talented and beautiful people in this world. Looking at Yang in surprise, Tsuehua was dumbfounded because she never knew that Yang could speak another country's language. Yang, you just... Yang squeezed Quihua's hand. Mom, what I just spoke was French. Do you remember the educated youth named Ngue from our village? Yes, I do. Tsuehua nodded. Yang continued. My French was taught by Ngue. Indeed, there was once an educated youth named Ngue in Dam village who had taught Yang some basic French phrases. So Yang's statement wasn't wrong. Oh, I see. Tsuehua said with an understanding look in her eyes. Yang nodded. Soon all the dishes were served. Yang picked up the pure milk for little Yun to drink. Seeing the milk, little Yun burst into a happy laugh. Faced with the exquisite Western meal, Tsuehua seemed a bit at a loss. Chapter 336. Teach the scum a lesson, be the matchmaker _3. Yang, why aren't there any chopsticks? Yang laughed and said, Mom, this is Western cuisine. Western meals are eaten with a fork and knife. Look at me, I hold the fork in my left hand, and the knife in my right hand. As she spoke, Yang elegantly cut off a piece of the steak, speared it with her fork, and put it in her mouth. Wait! Tsuehua interrupted in surprise. What's this, Mom? Yang asked, turning her gaze to Tsuehua in confusion. Yang, this meat is not cooked. There's still blood dripping from it. They should take it back quickly and cook it thoroughly. Yang smiled slightly and explained. This is what a medium-rare steak looks like. It's tender and juicy, and it tastes great. Tsuehua expressed her confusion. How can you eat the beef that isn't fully cooked? What if it got you sick? What if you catch mad cow disease? Yang responded. Mom, that's a misconception. In fact, a medium-rare steak is not only edible but also much more flavorful and nutritious than fully cooked beef. It's like the durian we had last night. It doesn't look appetizing, but it tastes wonderful. Tsuehua frowned slightly. Really? Yang continued to encourage her. Why would I deceive you? Mom, try the steak on your dish. Tsuehua was hesitant. No matter what, she still can't accept raw, bloody meat. The very sight of it made her skin crawl. Yang reassured her. Mom, don't worry. What I ordered for you is medium well. It won't be bleeding. Tsuehua finally relaxed, picked up the knife and fork, and began to cut the steak as she had seen Yang do it. Yang had made it look straightforward while cutting, but when Tsuehua tried it, the utensils seemed to have become dulled. Yang got up with a chuckle, went to Quihua's side, slightly leaned over and gently guided her hand to teach her how to operate the knife and fork. Mom, like this and then this. After a moment, the entire steak was cut into nice little pieces. Tsuehua stabbed a piece of beef and put it in her mouth. The beef was sprinkled with lemon juice and black pepper, so it didn't have a gamey taste, and it was neither tough nor chewy. The taste was indeed way better than that of the soy sauce beef and braised beef she was used to. And Yang handed her a piece of steak from her dish. Mom, now try this medium rare piece. And Tsuehua hesitantly accepted it, closed her eyes, and slowly chewed it in her mouth. The taste. It wasn't bad at all, just like what Yang had described. The texture was excellent, tender and juicy, and it was delightfully bouncy when she bit into it. Even though it tasted great, Tsuehua still preferred the medium well-done beef. The idea of eating raw meat was a mental block she still hadn't been able to get over. Seeing Quihua's reaction, Yang didn't force her, and continued to teach her how to eat escargot. In Western cuisine, there's a particular way to eat escargot too. Like common people eating river snails, they can get the meat out in one slurp. But for eating escargot, there are special tools involved. Looking at the 6 big escargots in the dish, Tsuehua expressed her astonishment. Yang, why are these river snails white? It's not that Tsuehua hasn't seen escargot before. But these escargots were so big, and unlike the ones she had seen in the fields, she mistook them for river snails. Yang explained, Mom, these are escargot. Hearing this, Tsuehua was completely floored. Escargot. Escargot is the term used in the local dialect for snails. Yang nodded. Yes, escargot. But don't worry, Mom. These are not like the wild snails. These are edible ones and their English name is Helix pomatia. Can escargots be eaten as well? Tsuehua conveyed her doubt. Foreigners are too strange. They eat things no one else does. Eating the raw meat that was still bloody seemed bad enough, but now even escargots are being thrown in the mix. How frightening. Yang expertly chose a piece of escargot and handed it to Tsuehua. Mom, give this a try. Tsuehua repeatedly refused. No. In the countryside, even ducks don't eat escargot. Yang laughed. Mom, do you know how much each of these escargots cost? If you don't eat them, there's no way I can eat all 6 by myself. How much? Yang said. 28 yuan each. What? 28 yuan each? Tsuehua looked incredulously. Yang nodded. Then this whole dish would be 168 yuan? Yang continued to nod her head. We only spent 158 yuan for dinner at the state-owned restaurant last time. But now a plate of escargot meat costs 168 yuan. It's just too expensive. Chapter 337. Teach the scum a lesson. Be the matchmaker _4. Tsuehua reluctantly accepted the escargot, closing her eyes as she ate it. As she ate, Tsuehua suddenly realized that expensive food indeed had its worth. This foreign escargot tasted even better than the river snails. While indulging in French escargot and rich, aromatic cappuccino with a violin playing gracefully in the background, Yang experienced relaxation like never before. When the pizza was delivered, Tsuehua thought it was a pancake. Yang laughed as she explained it was pizza. Tsuehua uttered astonishment at her own lack of knowledge. Yang said, Mom, Western food has just started to penetrate our domestic market. There are only 2 places in Beijing that serve it. It's quite normal for you not to know. Knowledge grows gradually. One can't grow fat with a single gulp. Not only does Beijing have Western food, but also Japanese food. Yang thought about it, and decided to take Tsuehua to try Japanese food during their next trip to the city. After dinner, as they were leaving the restaurant, Yang noticed a movie theater's poster. The large poster advertised 4 big characters. The Shaolin Kid. Mom, let's go watch a movie, Yang suggested, turning her gaze towards Tsuehua. Tsuehua instinctively declined. It's getting late, let's go home. Yang, arm in arm with Tsuehua, urged, Come on, Mom. One movie ticket costs only 30 cents. To the former Tsuehua, 30 cents was a considerable sum. It could even be called a fortune. But for Tsuehua now, it was nothing compared to the 168 yuan they just spent on a plate of French escargot. All right, let's go. Tsuehua agreed, laughing. Yang went to buy 2 movie tickets. The cinema was large, but not many people were inside. Half of them were couples who came together. Little Yin was very understanding, completely quiet throughout the movie, attentively watching the big screen as if she understood everything happening. The shooting location of the Shaolin Kid was Guilin. The scenery was very beautiful. Watching the scene of the pig cage dunking, Anai Tsuehua couldn't help but tear up. Luckily, only that scene was sentimental. The rest of the movie was comparably breezy and humorous. Watching the movie was refreshing both mentally and physically. After the movie, Anai Yang took Anai Tsuehua to the flower market where they bought some peach, apple, and pear saplings. As they passed a funeral supply store, Anai Tsuehua said, Yang, wait outside with Yun. All right. Anai Yang nodded, reaching out to carry little Anai Yun. Anai Tsuehua turned and went into the funeral supply store. When she came out again, she had an additional large bag in her hand. Once they were home, Anai Tsuehua opened the bag. Inside were some paper ingots and spirit money, along with 5 blank spirit tablets. Then Anai Tsuehua continued, Yang, the Qingming festival is coming soon. We should set up the spirit tablets for your grandparents and the 3 sisters. On the day of the festival, we will burn more paper money for them. Though Anai Tsuehua was fully aware that she was an abandoned child, she was still raised by her adoptive parents. It was only right to set up spirit tablets. This was the first time Anai Tsuehua spoke to Anai Yang about the 3 abandoned siblings. Anai Yang responded, Mom, are you sure I lost all 3 sisters? Even in the countryside, not every abandoned child left in the wilderness dies. They might not have all passed away. At that time, Anai Yang was too young and naive to know where exactly the 3 sisters were abandoned. If they weren't abandoned on the back mountain, there might be a chance that they survived. Anai Tsuehua's eyes immediately turned red. She choked out the words. After your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th sisters were discarded, I also secretly searched in the back mountain, but I couldn't find them anywhere. There are so many wolves on the back mountain. Those were 3 unfortunate children born to her, their useless mother. Anai Tsuehua usually only let her tears flow late at night when everyone else was asleep. But today she couldn't hold back. As a mother, every time she thought of her 3 unfortunate daughters, her heart ached unbearably. After all, they were her flesh and blood. Anai Yang responded, Perhaps they weren't abandoned on the back mountain at all. Mom, don't be so pessimistic. For all you know, my 3 sisters might still be alive. Alive? Upon hearing this, Anai Tsuehua seemed to glimpse at redemption. Could they really be alive? She didn't know. Anai Tsuehua said, If your 2nd sister is still alive, she would be 17 this year. The 3rd sister would be 16, and the youngest, the 4th sister, would just turn 12. Anai Tsuehua clearly remembered their birth dates. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.